But yeah, I'm glad you're doing well though. Like,
Yeah.
so
I appreciate you asking me to do this. It's
Oh.
it's nice to kind of promote the program. We're looking for some coaches right now, so it's nice to be kind of put out there and see if we can get some people kind of want to come hang out with us.
You did a great job last time. That for is one, good people. That's my first priority. Like that's what I care about. Is I like when I do this stuff and talk to coaches, I want good people. I like the rest of it, whatever. Like,
right.
I'm just being honest. Like, and then if you get,
I know what you're getting at. Yeah.
Like, so let me make sure this is working. Make sure my stupid little computer actually wants to. There we go, charging. Let's test the audio. And people, and then I'll just mass while you get started. I will mass send out links and all that jazz. And of course, Franklin University wants to play their ad on stuff as I just make sure I can test this. Yeah.
Right.
All right. I mean, remind me again, have you been in Texas your entire career?
No, I haven't. I've actually spent time in Kansas, Oklahoma, so different places. I didn't always coach high school either.
I know we talked about it briefly. I just couldn't remember.
Different places. I didn't always coach high school.
There you go. Yep, sound works. But yeah, I couldn't remember on that what you had done and what you hadn't done. And again, I talked to so many dang people.
Yeah, it's funny. I had to put a resume together the other day, and I looked at it and laughed at the stats. And guys, I wouldn't hire me. Look at all these places you've been.
Well, like I say this, there's a pro and con with it. Unfortunately, like part of it is like you want to put yourself in a successful position, like obviously. The other part of it is, as we know, like there's some economics to it. Like you got a family to provide for. So making $45,000 a year is not going to necessarily take care of a wife and a kid, especially right now. Like, I mean, I don't know what gas is like where you're at, but $3.75 by my house.
$3.16.
Yeah, like, like there's economics in it. Like, and despite us coaching one or multiple sports, teaching, like it gets. I mean, it's hard to pay bills, and it is like. So
not Ed. The math ain't mathing.
Yeah, you're right. The math definitely ain't mathing. So, all right. I think we're good. Here, do me a favor. I'm going to step out of the room and check the audio on my phone.
Okay.
Just hit play. Just talk. You can talk about bread for all I care.
I got you.
Just talk about something.
I got you. Well, Coach, one of the things I'll talk to you about is down here. One of the things interesting with Texas high school and high school coaching right now is that we have more job openings than we've ever had in the state of Texas. And everybody's like, well, what's going on? Or, what's the issues and all these different things. And what we were just talking about is what it is. Like my wife and I could not move into Lewisville, Texas, buy the house that we're living in now and teach and coach and do what we're doing if we had to. If we didn't come in 13 years ago, we're not getting in because the housing market's changed. Our salaries haven't increased with whatever's going on economically. So it's put a lot of stress that I don't even know how we're going to get young people to come down here and join us. Well, whereas we also get in line to used to get down here is what I was told.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I moved down there the first time, I think my mom got like probably somewhere between 500 and 1,000 more square feet in her house for half the cost of what the house was here in Ohio in the late 90s. And because it was extremely affordable to live in Texas in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then it's just like, I know what my mom's house is worth currently. Mm-hmm. Absent she built it, the current house, holy Lord. Like it is a different economic category. And part of that is, I mean, her house has almost tripled in value since she built this one.
Like true. All over the state
in less than 10 years, and it's just like, yo. So, Coach, you can.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we're about by the time my intro will be ready to go. So, coaches, as coaches file in, don't be afraid to ask questions. Like I said, and I'll relay them to him. Coach is going to speak for about 25 minutes, about 5 minutes for Q&A if anybody's got questions. Coach Hall was on our Sunday session last month. He did a fantastic job, and he's just good people. Coach Hall is at Lewisville High School down there in the great state of Texas. He's going to talk 7, 8, 9-man spacings and kind of build off what he talked last time. So, Coach, the floor is yours, my friend, and have fun.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate the compliments. And on behalf of Michael Odell and Stu Johnson and our entire staff at Lewisville, we just want to say thank you for letting us promote our program, promote our kids. And so I'll get right into it, which is why you guys joined in. So again, thank you for giving me your time. You know, what we do at Lewisville is we like to try to categorize our defenses into 7, 8, and 9-man spacing structures. We do categorize this through the way that we call our defenses. I can get into that a little bit more, but like our nomenclature lets our kids know that we are in 7-man spacing versus what I was going to talk to you all about today, which is more of 8-man spacing. But I think what's important for us to understand between this slide here, 7-man spacing being out gap, meaning you're going to be short in the run game. This is where you start seeing the things I talked about last week. We were having to play Jimmy and Pony, pirate, cut the front up, use stack track fallback techniques to make sure that you are, if you will, big boxing this fit because you're 1 DB short removed from the, if you will, the RPO side. So it's very important that we understand that while we're trying to play 7-man spacing, we do still have to consider and fit it like 8-man spacing. We're just trying to slow it down, have the ball roll off the table, and try to keep 1 DB kind of removed out of the fit as long as we possibly can. Whereas you can see here in 8-man spacing, what we consider as being gapped out. Now, I tell a lot of young coaches, when we play 8-man spacing, we do expect to play the run better, but we do not expect to stop the run completely. The thing about a quarterback that runs the football, yes, we have every gap covered, but if they were to add the quarterback into the run game, they would have an extra gap than we would. So, yes, a lot of times when I played high school football, we got into cover 3 and 8-man spacing. That was our run defense. But for us, truly what we get into is what we would call 9-man spacing to be able to stop the run. And that's quarters or cover 0, however you want to look at it. But putting enough people in the, if you will, run game allow us to back gap with our linebackers instead of track pack and our stack track and fall backing. Just gives us the ability to play the quarterback differently. So let's get into kind of why we look at them this way. So I'm going to just show you from a nickel perspective. You can do this out of any defense that you want in the country. But let's just say you started off right here and you were into our flex 1 rat bump. You know, that is one of my favorite calls in defense. As Nick Saban has said, it's his favorite defensive call. Playing man-to-man on the outside, man-to-man on the slots. And what we're doing is using an indicator fit on that Y or that sniffer, which allows our inside linebackers to single gap that fit, play a banjo technique 2-on-1, but single gap, single back when you are in single high defenses. And what this allows us to do is to slide back and forth based on what that Y is doing. So if he was to slide back here, hopefully you all can see my mouth, but if he was to slide back in this direction, that free safety is going to rock down in here, and that strong safety is going to roll the middle of the field with a cheat third technique. Again, trying to make sure that we are sound in the run game, but yet able to use middle of the field closed defensive principles with our secondary, all the dividers and position maintenance things that you've seen become so popular over the last 18 months. And that's what we base out of, is using those principles of middle of the field closed defenses so that we can fit cover 1 and cover 3 pretty much the same. So here I drew up a quick one real quick while we were getting started. Sorry, it's not all put together, but this is to pro, right? So this isn't something we would normally do to pro formation, but I just wanted you to see that, you're kind of short in the run game, right? When it comes to playing cover 3 or cover 1, in our opinion. But the rules are for us is that when I go back to the saying, single back, single gap, single high. So when we're in our middle of the field closed defenses, we're trying to play single gap defenses, but we're also using bending chase techniques with our defensive ends and kind of, if you will, the gap exchange that was so popular with the 4-3 defense. This is just showing you how we line up to it and, if you will, create the structure of the box and keeping it the same. All right. So I'll share this with you at any time, guys. This is just playbook stuff, but I know you want to kind of get into some film and some techniques. So again, just showing you how we all line up. Now let's say we do this same principles, right? 8-man spacing, but let's do it out of weak side rotation. So we're rolling down into the weak side, where for us to be the strong safety rolling down the tight end. And this is where we start using indicator rules and finding an idea if the Y is in the box. And I'll go over some of those rules with you here in a second. But like Coach and I were talking about earlier, right here, because of the way we play Rip and Liz match, that star is gone. And a lot of people would say, I'm here, but we're going to say gone to our backers and let them know, because we're in man coverage and Rip Liz match. and we are not going to necessarily be in the run fit. So we can't spill things out there. So we are not in a force, fit, feel, fold mentality of having 4 underneath defenders like most people are used to when they're playing cover 3. Again, we're single back, single gap, single high, right? So we're not using overhangs to create front structures. If your man is in the box, then you are in the fit. But as you can see with the star, his man is out of the box. So he would make the comment, I'm gone. Same principles of when you move it over into tray, same principles when you move it into nub trips, and when you get into America's favorite formation, which is the 2x1, we call twins open. So if you'll take a look at it, what we're doing here is that we can roll down and be in indicator fits. And this is where you've heard so many people talk about, which I'm going to share with you today, is lever, spill, lever fits. And this goes back to those 4-3 run fits so that we can be single back, single gap, single high. So like when we were talking about with rock and roll, when that Y was to kick back and that free safety came down and the strong safety went to the middle of the field, well, the Y has to be taken out by the Mike because we're in rip and Liz match rule. So the star is gone. So if that Y was to kick back, that Mike has to fit him as the lever on the outside shoulder. And then the money for us would be the spill player into that gap, and the strong safety would be the lever player in that gap, meaning they all fit off the indicator. So if that indicator slides left, all 3 of those are 4-3 old school, indicator fitting off of him to the left and taking him through, if that makes sense to you in our rip list match terminology and principles. So if that Y was to kick back over on the other side, the same thing. The strong safety is just a little bit more aware of him, if you will, expanding to the weak side, and we take him out there. If that Y kicks in here and runs power, well, that's an indicator fit, and it'll all drive us to this side of the formation as a lever and a spill player and a lever player, and keeping our middle of the field safety out of the fit, which I know is very popular for a lot of high school coaches. What do you mean that free safety is not in the fit? The way we want him to play is that these gone players and these corners are using position maintenance and divider rules, which means they expect that post safety to be there. So he has to be there for us over being in the run game, which is why we classify our run fits probably a little different than some people see them. That's 2x2, that's 3x1. I'm going to get away from that presentation from you real quick. Okay. I'm going to stop that share, and I'm going to go to another share. And this one's going to be into the film a little bit. So this is going to hopefully get us into where you can get into my huddle. Let me move this slide around. Sorry about that, guys. But, we get into this huddle stuff. And can you see that screen there, Coach?
Yep, you're good.
All right. So run fit, run defense foundations. One of the things that we believe in is playing these middle of the field defenses. You got to have what some people call a skate or a cheat technique. And what that means is this is a cheat third technique that allows us to gain a third level safety, eliminate explosive, help us with gap schemes, QB runs, and RPOs. So it's a middle of the third defensive safety technique, 10 to 12 yards off of the hash, roll into the middle of the field. We're going to read, run, flatten out, drive on the receivers, on the RPOs. If it's pass, we got to work the middle of the field and be the post defender. So this is our rock and roll and fitting off the indicator, and that's what I'm talking about. So that strong safety will be fitting down and matching that Y because he's got to get the outside shoulder. He's in man coverage to that Y at that time. And then that free safety is going to clear run first. So he is shuffling through, making sure that it's not run back weak and before he explodes to the post and gets, if you will, in the middle of the field where we need him for position maintenance and dividers. This is just some of my baby freshmen. So these aren't my safeties doing it. This is me teaching my freshman linebackers this principle because I want a kid like this Burrow understanding what's going on in the run fit. So the linebackers understand how fast it's going to be when they get the action flow to them and what it's like, and say, hey, that safety ain't really there. He's kind of skating. So a lot of people kind of make fun of the way I do some things with these kids, but I show them everything. So if you're a linebacker, you're working the middle of the field. So you got an understanding of kind of what's going on in these structures. So cover one, right? My favorite call. This is what it looks like structurally, just lining up. And when you line up a 2x2 formation, you're seeing right now in our 3 safety defense, we got to communicate and get our eyes on the right indicators. If he's in the backfield, if not, let's get in mess coverage, man except shallow on the outside. We're banjo with our 2 guys on the inside. We got our middle of the field post safety, and then that back shoot. That back's running with him when we're using the low rat, which is a whole nother presentation, right? Of playing low rat and using your low hole defender as much as you're using your high hole defender. This is us playing one of our favorite rivals, Flower Mountain here in our Lewisville ISD district. Well coached, great players. You know, they just do a great job. They get us in man coverage. As you can see, they get us in an empty formation, and we're staying in one wrap. And we're using our position maintenance, as you can see, with our scooch techniques, outside foot up on those outside receivers. I'd prefer if both corners were in press right now. We had one go a little bit rogue on me, but we'd like for them both to be in press. Eyes on your guys, using your low rat defenders, and being competitive and not being afraid to play man coverage. If you're going to play Ripley's match, and if you're going to play 7, right, match quarters, you got to teach man coverage. So I think it's important to teach man coverage, to believe in man coverage, show them how to use these position maintenance, show them how to use the dividers. As you can see, number 2 being our middle of the field post safety here, and number 12 being our low wrap player because of the formation that's been created. And just using those 2 guys as your low hole help players, and making sure that you are always patient and calm in man coverage. Here's a good idea of us working the indicator fit off of the sniffer, playing against Plano in district play. And as you can see, my safety's kind of skating out of there slow, check and run mesh, and now he's exploding to the post. I'm going to show you something. I don't have a whole lot of time, but I'll show you a few things on diagram. This is the way number 17's our nickel. He's our star. And what they love to do is run same side RPO and put stress on us. So what we did is we just went ahead and rocked down and played what was called a cage or a combo technique between him and the money. So you'll see right here, him and number 8, because it's such a tough concept on them, that allows them to use man exchange principles, still use inside leverage, right, when needed, but outside leverage if they're inside the dividers. Another conversation. I would love to talk to you all about that if I'm going too fast. We want to use stack rules. We have bunch rules. We're a 0.1, 0.2 lock and level team, but using the indicators and using our safeties to fit off of him allows us to play middle of the field close defenses and feel really good in the pass game because of the help, but yet at the same time, we feel really good in the run game because we feel, single gap, single back. Our kids get to put their heels down and play a little bit of football, unlike when I got them stack tracking and fall backing when they're doing all those other things in other defenses, okay? I was going to move a little bit faster. If I could get there, let me make sure I covered everything I want. But just get into what I was talking about with single back, single gap, run spacing. Is that, as you can see right here, the running back is being banjoed by the Micah and the Will in this diagram, and that strong safety comes down. So we gain the 8th run defender when needed. We just make sure that we insert it where it's needed. So as that sniffer can move around and change where he inserts, this allows us to give the ability to insert as we need as well. Some people used to call it old key coverage from Don Brown. Same concept. Here you go again, single back, single gap. Just showing you how it happens differently with a different front. This is showing you when you got a shade 5, and we're going to gap exchange. And this is showing you when you got the 3 technique, and it's going to be more of a surf, and still fits the same for our safeties. Again, here it is in play, using our skate techniques with our safeties, checking, and here you see him redirect that foot, get it right back down in the ground, and run the alley and support, again, in man coverage. And get you the end zone copy of him right here. So you don't see him early. There's our count, using our indicator fit. Here he comes, and then all that safety shadow starts showing back up. And as you can see, without that layer of the defense, we would have been in trouble there. Creating that 3rd layer defender, it's just been really helpful for us. We love it out of split back and the goal. When you face like Highland Park and Randy Allen, the fantasticness of his football offense, you're just sitting here looking at power out of split back. Yes, but it allows us to insert where we need it insert. So let me get you to the end zone copy. And you'll see number 2, got his eyes on his indicators. We like old school, right? They're in split backs. We cross key it just like you should. We're cross keying, so 2's got his eyes on 5. He sees 5 come his way. He matches that path, and we're able to play good goal line defense with somewhat of a presentation of a 2-high shell that we know is going to turn into a 1-high defense and get our 8th defender in the box when needed, okay? So any questions so far? I can keep going, but what I'd like to do now is kind of move you into more of my cover 3 world, right? And what I mean by that is that we want to create these same kinds of principles when we're playing our cover 3. All right. So this is just your alignments, what we call over 6. And this is, we're going to set the tight call to the tight end. We're going to have a weak side rotation. And this is just showing us making our gone calls. So right here in Pro Twins, gone, that means they're out of the fit. We're single back, single gap, right? Those are all single back, single gap fits because of where the Y is located. When he puts himself in the backfield, now we go to our lever spill lever fits, and we're going to fit off that indicator and use our indicator fits. Everybody see that, right? And so now when it's 4 open, there's no need. We just call the tight call to the multiples or wherever we decide to call it that week, and we just put our feet in the gap, and we're both gone players on the outside. Now, what is lever spill lever? So if you're a young coach and you haven't been around the 4-3 defense in a long time and they haven't really showed you a lot of these run fits, what this is talking about, is this is the old 4-3, all right? And what we're saying with our levers is that they have to slide and get back on them. They key the Y in the core. They're the outside edge of the defense, and they're the outside shade alignment if the key is on the line. And your coverage has to match your alignment and your key. And so I tell my kids all the time, if you have to carry someone vertical, you're not in the run fit. So like last week, we talked about different coverages. If you're vertical, you're not in the fit versus Braveheart Terminators. What we're talking about now is that if I'm ripless match and I make a gone call, that means I've got to carry number 2 vertically. I'm OU. I got him out and up, a boomer technique. I can't be in the run fit. And we need to make sure that we're communicating that to our interior linebackers. Spill players still keyed in any direction versus gap schemes. They're going to get in over the top or spill overlap mentality, right? And they're kind of those second contained players. Whereas the lever, again, on the 3 receiver sets, like when you're in 11 personnel, the Y is in the core to the key, to the Y in the core, outside edge. Coverage matches key. Away from the key, you need to be looking for an internal A or B gap, right? So those are your rules. Back to the bottom thing, out of the core, 4 open sets, 1 back, 1 gap, single high, single gap. So I said, here, get it. Sorry. Did my screen freeze on everybody?
Yeah, you're good, Coach.
Okay. There. Good. So let's get you in some of the run fits. So now we can see just out of when the tight end's in the core, right?
Coach, wait a second. Are you trying to show film right now or still the diagram?
No, just diagrams.
Okay, you're good then. You're good.
Great. So I think it was just easier to show you, with diagrams, what we're talking about. That, when we get this tight end in the core, we're still in a gone call. We're a D-gap defender, right? And we're using our 4-3 run fits gap exchange. But when they pull, there's your spill overlap. So you can see this single back, single gap with somewhat of a lever spill lever principle. Here's where it really comes to scene, right? So we got our eyes on the indicator. He fits there, and we all fit gap back and use our gap exchange. When he slides, he pulls us all with him, gap, 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 all the way over, because who has to match the Y in the flat? Our Mike backer, because we're playing rip list match, because the star is making a gone call. Over here again, the Y indicator brings us here, gap, gap, gap over. Y indicator on the line, spilling overlap. Y indicator in the backfield, pulling us over with his slider principles. And this, if you will, fit in front side, sits us on our front side gap, 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 gap. So what we really like about it, again, it's like in rock and roll in our cover 1, we're adding that 8th guy in the box or that lever defender where the slider hits. We're doing the same thing in rip blitz match, lever spill, lever fits. And we can tell our guys, when you're in middle of the field, close defenses, you can fit cover 1 and cover 3 the same because we've made the commitment to rip and list match coverages, right? So, I think that's been a really important thing for us as it comes to our ability to play different formations and different offenses, right? And then, the last thing I'd like to kind of show you guys this afternoon is on this situation. Let me get this right here, last one. Get to my main screen. I think I got it all pulled up. Is getting back into my film. Sorry, it kicked me out of huddle real quick. Let me log back on.
You're good, Coach. You're good.
But when I think you get into is you don't want kids to say, Coach, do you tell your kids 7-8 man run spacing? Yes. I just don't use those terms. When we're in big box fits, we're probably using a boxer's name like Tyson Ali, right? And let them know they're in big box fits. When we're in these middle of the field close defenses, we like to use things like baseball players, like Mickey Mantle means you're in man, right? And then Babe Ruth is your boundary rotation. So it allows us to allow our guys to know when they got that center fielder in the middle of the field, they can fit it just the same as they would if they were playing man coverage, right? And now let me share. Yeah. If that makes sense to everybody, kind of what I'm getting at?
No. My question for you as you're pulling this up is, have you had to adjust, the baseball terms I think are easy. Have you had to update the boxing people or terms, given the fact that boxing's not as prevalent as when, heck, you were younger or I was younger? I mean, I remember watching boxing.
Coach, I agree with you. I agree with him, but here's where I argue with my kids. These defenses were named after my father. Okay. So my dad was a Gold Glove boxing champion out of Memphis, Tennessee. So when we play Bear 1, it's called Elvis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Tyson and Ali, if you don't know float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, then you're not one of us. You feel me?
Yeah.
And so one of the cool things that we do, and I think it's like teaching, is that we use these athletes to character develop our kids. So when we put in Tyson and Ali, it allows us to share their story and share their greatness and share the quote about how Ali hated to practice. But you know what he hated more than practicing? Losing, right? And I think kids can really understand it, especially if you knew my kids at Lewisville and the demographics the kids we're working on. Coach Odell's big. I'm a big scheme guy, football guy, but you've got to pour into these kids. And this has given us a great opportunity to teach history and connect the defenses. So every defense that we have that's a 4 down is named after a man or a woman, and there's a story behind it.
Yeah.
So what I was going to show you is just, I know this is a run fit clinic, right? But this is the same technique, the scooch Coach, man technique.
You need to share your screen.
Okay. Sorry about that.
You're good. I got you on a whole different tangent there.
All right. Yeah. So let me see make sure I can find how I share. I'm losing how I click your picture.
Is the
there, I got it.
Okay.
I had to get out of the minimized stuff. How's that? Here we go.
Yep, you're good.
There we go. All right, computers. So, so the coaches, I get a lot of time like, how do you teach all this, right? Well, boomer technique. Number 2, outside and up the field, scooch, match, carry, deliver, right? So he uses this technique when he's playing man coverage, the scooch catch man. He uses this technique when he's playing his Indian and bracket coverages, right? And he's also using this when he's playing his rip list match cover 3. And we're just making sure that we understand we match 2 out because we're gone. And we're using outside leverage because we're using that middle of the field post safety, if you will, in our dividers and our position maintenance principles. Here he is just, on 2 vert, open and carrying, right? Because he's on the top shoulder. So if you're familiar with rip list match cover 1, you're the vertical seam carrier of 2. If you get this route here, this corner route, which is always tough, always practicing the speed turn. It's one of the most dangerous things that happen to you with outside leverage, using your post safety. Because what I'm telling you right there, get ready to low hip him, right? Get ready to low hip him because he's going to work to the middle. Low hip him, and then, got a speed turn out there and get back on top shoulder. So working low shoulders, working top shoulder. So there you see a younger player getting too early in it because what I'm really trying to stress to him, when that guy works the post, we're working low hip, and now we're the underneath cut defender, and the post safety's on top. We don't ever want to be on top shoulder if we got a top safety because, again, we're covering the same side of a receiver. Same things now where if you get number 3. So as you drop in the seam, this allows him to match 3 out, right? If you want to use push rules, you can always apply them. 2's in, because we're going to deliver. We're in rip list match. And now I can help number 1 on the backside because if 2 is in, 1 is in, and I'm going to apply those rules that I've always been coached, right? So cover 6 match. As you can see, we're just using our match principles out of an odd front, using a little, bandit stunt right here. But we're just playing cover 1. There you can see our safety using the same kind of techniques, same kind of look. And what we love is we hope that a lot of coaches are drawing up our cover 3 defenses and drawing them up as cover 1. That's what we hope on a weekly, nightly basis because we want them to look the same. We're just applying different leverages, applying different push rules, and we're not chasing crossers as much, if you will. So here, I'll give you your last cut and we'll get going on and answer any questions you have. There's our bandit going to come off this edge, play rip list match. And it pretty much looks like cover one. And coaches would argue, Coach, what's the difference between cover one and ripless match? I was telling them, it's man except shallow. And if he goes shallow, we're going to give him a deliver call, and then we'll zone it off and play a normal seam curl flat and be a cough dropper, curl over flat player. Hopefully you got something out of that.
Like I said, that was one of the questions that I had while you were going was the terms. I mean, and I can't remember if I asked you this last time, and because nothing else popped up. If somebody's got a question, pop it before Coach goes. But when you're teaching techniques and terms, do you try to, for each of your coverages, try to piggyback or use those same terms as much as humanly possible? I think that's like, because again, we all sit on Twitter and see stuff on Twitter, and I think that's becoming a lot more common thing that's being explained a little bit better. But whether it's cover 4 quarters, whether it's cover 3, if you can use a term that help install and speed, like how does that work for you guys?
So here's something I learned a long time ago, and thankfully, being around a guy like Joe Lee Dunn when I was young, and Craig Jerzel when even I was at Hutch, is that every coverage has a technique. Well, that technique needs to be named. So, for instance, when we run our 7 Indian and we're playing that tight cone double team on slot receivers, the outside guy, the outside piece of that double team is playing the boomer. He's OU. He's got that guy out and up the field. The inside safety is playing a Hoosier technique. He's got him inside and up, okay? Now, when we go to play what we call Bronco quarters, where that safety's on the hash and we get a pro look, that safety is playing boomer from the hash. He's got that tight end out and up the field, so he can just play his Bronco rules, his boomer rules when he's playing Bronco coverage. When he goes to play ripless match and he's gone, he's playing boomer, OU. I got number 2 out and up the field. I'm doing everything in man coverage that I just talked about, except I can't deliver him inside. I've obviously got to squeeze him in because now we're in man. So the boomer technique that we showed you the last couple of times is applied in 4 different coverages for us, so that we're not teaching a bunch of techniques. We're teaching techniques, but not a bunch of different techniques. So that if you got a menu, and I tell my guys, if we get a kid that has a technique list of 10, it's too many. In those 10 techniques, we should be able to run every coverage in the country. And that's just from experience of, going through this process of naming techniques, being detailed in what we're teaching, and trying to scaffold. This wasn't an easy process. Trust me. When I first got into all this, my staff and I don't have as many friends on staffs as I used to, because we lost some friendships because they felt it was philosophically, it was just too much at the high school level. Luckily where I'm at, I got guys who have bought in, and our head coach supports me in all this and allows me to teach probably more than we should at the high school level.
Okay. No, that was kind of my main question. And because obviously not every state gets as much time as Texas. I mean, that's just, so I mean, I think a lot of the southern states, there's a lot more frequency of athletic periods and stuff you can do year round. I think that's starting to change up north. I mean, me and you talked a little bit about that with the change in the 7-on-7 rule for Ohio. And that's kind of like, if you want to be able to install stuff year round or do some stuff, because we're getting a little bit more leeway on stuff we're able to do. I think you got it, whether offense or defensively, as much same as humanly possible, I think, to get this stuff. Because again, people are going to, not just my channel, but a bunch of other resources. You can find information on passing concepts, deep coverages, like that stuff's there. So
it's there.
It's not like people aren't going to use it, and people are going to adapt and evolve. And again, there'll be the inverse of that, where people will go hyper the other way. And
you're so right, Coach. And like my wife, during COVID, she's like, why aren't you doing what these other guys are doing? Why aren't you packaging it? Why aren't you selling it? And I was like, because I stole it. Right? Like a lot of people are promoting things like they invented them. Right? These things have been around a long time. Yeah. It's like I tell people all the time, can you coach it? Can you who is your corners coaches out there that have a press man technique tape that they have used for many years and have coached press man?
Yeah.
Right? If you haven't, then this stuff really ain't for you. Right? That's where I've come from. So it's easier for me to do it. I'm comfortable in press man. Joe Lee Dunn taught us how to play, the old stack defense was 5 free, right? That's what we based out of. And that's when I was at Hutchins Junior College. Craig Jerzel allowed me to put Rip Liz match cover 3 in with Joe Lee's system, and it changed everything for us. So we actually won a bowl game that year. And allowed us not to chase crossers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It allowed us to play fire zones better. And, and like when I was talking to a coach the other day, coach, when you're playing quarters, you're 3 under 4 deep. Your 3 underneath defenders have to fit like a fire zone. And he looked at me and I was like, you have 3 underneath defenders. And he looked at me and I said, it's all the same shit, guys. We just are putting different lipsticks on a pig and changing it up. It's the same old stuff.
Well, Coach, I'm going to leave it there because that's the perfect analogy, and I don't think it's going to get much better than that. So, coaches, like I said, give Coach a follow on the Twitter if you got any questions. I put his Twitter in the chat. If you got any further questions for him, reach out to Coach. If you have questions on his prior clinic, it's on the channel, both on the full and that. Coach, thank you as always. You're fantastic, and you're a plethora of knowledge.
Well, thank you for the compliments. Anytime.
Thank you, Coach. All right.
Yes.
So we stay on schedule because otherwise I know me because I can talk all day long. I've learned that trait. Coach Hughes is up next. Coach Hall, can you unshare your screen too, by the way?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. But just so Coach, as I do my spiel, Coach can get shared. Coach Hughes, how you doing?
Hey, doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I appreciate coming on. I would chit chat longer, but I don't want to get too far behind. Coach Hughes is the head football coach at Mount Bethel Christian Academy in Georgia. Coach is going to talk practice and program organization, particularly with schools with small numbers. Whether you're a big school that historically struggled or just a small school, I think this is a great resource. It's as somebody who's spent about half their career at a small school. Like I said, I think this is a good resource for all of us. So, Coach, the floor is yours, and I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate you for having me on. Taking over, this is my first year as a head coach. And so really, honestly, I've had the pleasure or the ability to be around some really, really sharp coaches in my career. And so when I took over as the head coach, the practice structure and the practice organization has been a tremendous thing for me. It's kind of become my baby. So it's just something that I've spent a lot of time diving into. And where I'm at right now, we have limited player numbers, 25. We'll move up this year and have some more, but still trying to structure those things that stay organized. And but I'm going to jump into it and knock this out. So this is our program philosophy. I can't not get on here without saying this. I actually took this from a coaching mentor of mine. But our philosophy is people, process, and product. And so what we say is, the first thing I do in hiring coaches is I just want to make sure they're good people. We can take care of the X's and O's stuff. We can do that. Now, if they're also a good coach, that's even better. But I want good people around my program. We have to have a structured, organized process, which I'm going to kind of dive into that today. And then we say the product, what we put on the field, is what'll take care of itself. That'll take care of itself. So that's our overall arching program philosophy. Now, then we get into kind of we have a yearly philosophy. Let me see if I go back. We have a yearly philosophy, and our yearly philosophy this year is 168. And what that means is there's 168 hours in a 7-day week. So we ask our kids, we say, hey, what are you doing with your 168? So that's our, last year was our new era coming in, trying to create a program, build a program. And then this year's going to be 168. So we've got that in place, and just, how are you utilizing your 168? And what are you doing with that? So just to kind of go through kind of our structure and organization and how we do things from a practice standpoint. So we have a 5th, 6th grade team, 7th, 8th grade team, and then a high school team, probably very similar to a lot of other people. But with us having low numbers, so last year we had 25 kids at the upper school. We had around the same in our 7th, 8th grade and 5th and 6th grade team. So that was kind of the, across the board, the numbers we had. We have a 100-yard turf field. We've got great facilities here, which is a huge plus in creating and structuring a program. But we treat our 7th, 8th grade team basically like you would your JV team. So at a big school where you've got, everything you need there, we have our high school kids, and then we've got our 7th, 8th grade kids. So we treat them really like our JV team. And then our 5th and 6th grade team, we call them the Junior Eagles. We treat them as our true middle school team. And what I mean by that is, and I'll show you in a second, but our 7th and 8th grade and upper school, we practice a ton together. We do our pre-practice stuff together. We do a lot of our indie stuff together. We do 7-on-7, half line, all of those type of things we utilize and we do together. We rarely, again, we have a 60-yard grass field. We rarely use that. The way I've got it diagrammed on here, we spend a ton of time doing that as far as our practice. We all kind of practice on the turf field. And that way I feel like I can bump down to the 5th and 6th grade practice, watch what they're doing, watch what spend a ton of time with the 7th, 8th grade group. And then they're also getting coached by our upper school coaches. So it's a common voice. They're hearing, the same thing. And so it really has helped us to kind of, unite, be one, and kind of build that community type where everybody's, they're getting to know us, we're getting to know them. And I think that's going to build retention in the long run for what we're trying to do in building a program. One thing we do, and this is something I implemented this year, and again, I know Coach earlier was talking about stealing stuff. I mean, everything I think we do is stolen from somebody one way or the other. But I met with Coach Kenny Dallas in the offseason, and he kind of pushed. He was like, Coach, this is something you need to do. And I kind of tweaked it a little bit to fit, what fits for us. But we do something called the 557 Club, which I'm sure a lot of people do this. One thing I've done to tweak it is this is a circuit style workout. We invite everyone in the entire school, boys, girls, elementary school kids. I invite moms, I invite dads, grandma, grandpa. And since it's a circuit style workout, we tailor it to anybody that would be interested in coming. So it's, you can up it as much as you want, or you can, work at your pace to do whatever, best fits you. Again, the idea behind that is trying to build community. I want to get people involved in our football program, whether they have kids in it or not. And I want to, again, grow our community. So we typically do this. We started it this year. It was 8 weeks before spring practice. We're fixing to wrap up with it next week. Again, circuit style workout. Everybody's invited for what we're trying to do. I'm trying to build community. That's the biggest thing. We go from 5:57 a.m. And again, Coach Dallas was like, I said, why 5:57? He said, because you want to do something hard before 6 o'clock. He said, it's a mental thing. And it just rang true to me. And I loved it. And we do it one time a week. So it's like, hey, do something hard one time a week that's going to put you out of your comfort zone. We go from 5:57 to 7 a.m. And then each week we have a family who will sponsor a breakfast, and we'll kind of sit down together and do that breakfast and just spend time with each other before school. It's been great, again, for building a community and building what we're trying to, build here at Mount Bethel. So just kind of diving into our practice, and I've got a thing I'll pull up in just a second, but we don't have the luxury, we're a very high academic school. A lot of kids are in AP classes and all of these different things. So we don't have a ton of kids who are in weight training during school. So that is something that we have to do right after school. So we get out at 3:15. They're in the weight room by 3:30. We're on the field with a pre-practice by 4:10. So it's just kind of, it's something we just have to do. We've got to get in and something there for that. Now, in season, we have focused particular things. And I'm talking, again, it goes back to our philosophy, hiring good people. What's your process? Okay. So our process for in season is we have a focus. Each day of the week has a focus period. It has its own focus. We start our week on Sundays. I know, like a lot of other people do, we bring the kids in after church. So the first portion of that is our faith. We say, guys, we want you in church. You need to be in church. We're a Christian school. That's something we promote, and we want you in church. So we'll typically start our day after church around 2. We'll go from 2 to 4:30, depending on how much stuff we need to get in that day. But that's our faith day. But we bring the kids in on Sunday. We do an active recovery period, which is yoga. We'll do a recovery lift, and then we'll kind of break down things from that last game, film, all of those type things. We'll dive into that with the kids, and then get them out. On that Sunday. Monday's our fix day. We spend Monday really focusing on things that we needed to fix from the last game. So it's a focus on us. We always tend to focus on us anyways, but we've got to fix any issues. If it was, we were making wrong steps, we weren't blocking, this person, we wrong reads, different things like that. We spend Mondays fixing any of those issues that we have. So we completely focus on us. Tuesdays we call it a fight day. I think probably like a lot of people. It's we're going to have our live scrimmages. We're going to have all of those type things set up and structured. From that Wednesday, I tell our coaches, look, anything, we don't put in a lot of new stuff. So throughout the season, what we do is what we do. Again, we focus on us. But if there are small wrinkles that we put in throughout the season, those need to be in by Wednesday because that's our fast day. If it doesn't look good, we're throwing it out. Okay, we're not doing it. It's not going into the game. We're not putting that product on the field if it doesn't look good by Wednesday because we're rolling and moving fast. Thursday's our fit day. Obviously, we're fitting up, with our walkthroughs and making sure everything looks good. We say Friday's finish, and then our Saturday is family. We take the day off. Coaches can thank God for huddle and all that kind of stuff. They can put all their information in there. They can do all those type things and spend time with their families. With their kids. We tell the same thing for our players. The purpose of this is to provide a focus during the process. So we talk about a process, but if you don't have a clear outline for what that process is, the kids go, well, Coach, what are you talking about? So we say, hey, this is a clear outline of what we're going to focus on every single day. So to prevent us from looking ahead and focus on the theme of the day to, accomplish our goals and what we're trying to get accomplished. So that's our week, and that's what we push, and we're on top of it from that standpoint. And that's exactly how we structure our in-season days as far as Monday through Saturday. Now, this is something that I give to my coaches, and this is something that was huge for me. It kind of became a thing that was more for giving it to your wife to tell her, hey, this is what this is where I'm going to be this week. This is what I'm going to be doing, and things like that. But it was something that was super organized and structured for our coaches. They know, hey, it's going to be 60% chance of rain, 70% chance of rain. So you need to have plan B already prepared, ready for we're in the gym or we're in the cafeteria or wherever we are. You need to have all of that type of stuff structured. So we put, what the weather is, what the temperature is, what our different things and thought processes are. And it'll look a little bit different from this. Just there'll be more notes and things like that. We also pick a word of the week. So one thing we do is once we're done with practice, we circle up and each coach has what we call 10 seconds of wisdom. Sometimes that can turn into 15 minutes of wisdom. So we got to watch it. But we have 10 seconds of wisdom. And then we also do what's called attitude, effort, execution. So we go around kind of in the back and, say, Coach Sims, you got 10 seconds of wisdom. And so he just kind of lays out we put a word of the week, mental, or it could be, we pick it in our coaches meeting and they talk around that word. Okay. What that means to them. They use, pull in experiences and things like that very quickly. And then we do an attitude, effort, execution. So each coach will name a player or players who exemplified, the attitude, effort, execution piece. I like that because what that does too is it makes my coaches focus consistently at practice on trying to pinpoint what kids are doing, positive, all of those type of things. And then we're able to highlight what that kid was doing, during that day. So that's something that we do at the end of practice. Again, got to watch it sometimes because I don't get the long-winded coaches and they'll be rolling, but it's been really good for us, and it lets the kids hear another voice. It's not just me up there talking in front of the group. It spreads it out, and it allows the coaches to kind of grow and develop too, and maybe get them out of their comfort zone a little bit, so that if they're wanting to become a head coach or do things like that, it can help them get their voice and go about it that way. Okay. Oh, this is Sunday again. We've got our active recovery period. This is something we do on Sundays. When I came in, I was big on the nutrition piece. I wanted these kids because we got a ton of kids that have never played football before. And I said, we're trying to take non-football players and turn them into football players, because if they were football players, they wouldn't be going to school here because Mount Bethel had never had a football program prior to last year. So we bring in the yoga. We try to run this thing as much like a college program as possible. We say we're a college preparatory school, so I want to run this thing as much like a college as humanly possible. So we try to really push the nutrition piece, with the proteins and the drinks and all of these type things. We bring them in for yoga on Sundays. We also get a recovery lift, and they get treated for anything, any injuries or things like that they may have. But that's a big piece of what we do. And that's, again, I know I said it on our Sunday as an active recovery day. This is kind of the picture that gives, a little bit more insight into what we try to do from that standpoint. Okay, diving into full practice. And again, this has become kind of my baby and something that has been huge for us. This is a layout, and I won't go through all this because I've got some slides that show you, and I'm trying to get through this quickly, that show you every single thing we do as far as this. But this is the breakdown of we'll start a pre-practice and move into a 2-minute, and we kind of go through there. And again, like I said, this is the structured outline. I'm going to show you kind of step by step what that looks like as I go through this very quickly. So this is our pre-practice structure here. Now, I'm a big special teams guy. I was special teams coordinator at a couple of different places, and I've just seen the value and the importance in our special teams. How that works, all the nuances that go into how special teams can win or lose you games. And I've seen it from multiple different ways and things like that. So I have found a huge importance in that. So we're going to do this every single day. So Tuesday we do 8 minutes, and you can see here we got our field goal kickers and our holders and snappers down here. We've got our snappers, punters, and returners kicking, our kickoff guys and returners kicking on the other end of the field. And then typically our O-line, D-line guys who aren't in anything. They're working on their kind of everyday drill type stuff, their steps, all their hand placement, all that kind of stuff. We do get a full 20-minute special teams period on Wednesday. So that's why we kind of cut that down, from that and try to incorporate all that into our pre-practice portion of that. Also, too, a lot of times the quarterbacks will be doing their own thing, taking snaps, anything like that, long snaps, under center, all that type stuff, and then throwing to receivers, just warming up, whoever's not in this specialty period for us. We then quickly move into our individual and group periods. Now, this was something that I worked, the school I came from, I worked for a legendary coach named Gary Rankin, and learned so much from him about how to practice. That was his biggest thing was how they practice, and he's won 17 state championships, and I attribute most of that to just the structure, the organization of how he practices. So I've tailored a lot of this stuff off of what he did. But we do a 5-minute period with quarterbacks, wide receivers doing pat and goes. The running backs will work blocks. So I know when I was there, I coached running backs and did the D line. But we would work blocks. I mean, it's talking just the minute stuff behind the step, the hand placement, and that's a 5-minute period. Again, O-line continues to do their everyday drill stuff. We progress down after that 5 minutes, and it's no more than 5. I mean, it's 5 minutes. You got to get it in, get it out. Let's go. The next 5 minute is a group period. And this is just, and as simple as it was, and I've seen it before, but just the organization of just a mirror drill, and it's every day. So we've got a quarterback, a running back, we'd have a fullback or a sniffer. And literally a lot of times we'd have 4 groups depending on how many, we got here. If we got 2 groups, that's great. And we just mirror, they run a mirror drill. So we'll run, one play going right, one play going left. The kids will cross over and we'll go into another play going the opposite direction. And so that was huge just from getting those plays and stealing plays and how you do things and all that kind of stuff was awesome from that standpoint. From there, we run into our defensive period. Now, this is something that each one of my coaches, and it's not to micromanage, but it's especially young coaches. We give our coaches drill lists. And we don't say you have to do this. This is something you have to do, but it just helps to keep them organized and structured as to what they do on a daily basis, how they do things. And we give this out to, our outside linebackers, inside linebackers, D-line, defensive backs. I got those kind of pulled up there, and gives them just some context into some drills they can do and they can work in order to keep them, again, structured, organized, and on task at what they're doing at practice. I know because if you get a young coach in here who doesn't have a lot of experience, they can get lost in the shuffle. And so, you want to make sure that they're getting the kids everything they need to be successful. So we provide these for our coaches. And a lot of times we'll sit down and kind of tailor what they they know best and what best fits them. So this is just kind of an idea of that. Now we're going to get in an everyday drill from this standpoint. This would be our defensive individual period and our tackling period as well. So it's a 10-minute period. The top portion where it's a stick drill, long stick drill, hand work, their hand placement, that's a 5-minute period. So we walk through this in spring, we walk through this in summer, and then they know this, so it's old hat to them when we get into the fall. So we can literally, we'll say, hey, shade right, stick left, shade left, stick right. Shade right, long stick left. So it's rapid fire. We're like, how many reps can we get in this 5-minute period? And then the bottom portion of that is our, position specific tackling. And so, if it's we're working a chase drill or a wrong shoulder drill, and again, we're rapid fire. It's no more than 10 minutes. I mean, we're 10 minutes and we're moving. It keeps the kids engaged. It keeps the coaches engaged. It keeps everybody moving and flowing and moving, and the pace of practice quick. So that would be, again, a defensive line, individual period and tackle, period right there in a 10-minute window. And this is an example of just me doing this here. Again, and we're moving fast and just breathing fire on the kids. I mean, I want them to feel some chaos, feel some hey, I got to move, I got to go, and kind of get that done from there. Now, this is one thing we do. I do a padded camp every year. Some of this stuff's from that padded camp, but we go through a tackling, position-specific tackling teach period, circuit period in the summertime and in the spring. And then once we get into the season, we kind of, it's more position-specific, but we tackle every single day. And it's not a lot of live tackling. It's a lot of tackling because we don't have a lot of kids. So I'm not going to live tackle a kid and get him hurt. Everything we do is on pads, but you can kind of get it. It's just, it's the hawk tackling, the eyes through the thighs, we say, we're keeping our head out of it, all of those type of things that are important. And you can see, so we harp on this every single day to work. And again, we got to pad down because, again, we got a lot of kids that never played football before. They don't know how to fall. And they put their arms down. They do a lot of different things like that. So, again, this is that's tough to watch, but we're teaching them and we're trying to get it kind of down for them to understand that. So we go through that period every single day. Again, there's some more here. Just the tackle teach portion of it. And again, just going through it. We spend a ton of time in the spring and the summer working through that. Make the middle school kids come to the padded camp before they can really put helmet pads on, because I want them to know that they know what we're doing. After that, after we get through our individual periods and our group periods, we go into a special plays period. This is all our trick plays. So we do a lot of trick plays. It's something we spend a lot of time on. And so we spend a 5-minute period every single day going through trick plays. And that's what you think it is. Flea flickers, throwback screens, double passes, anything. And we carry about 5 trick plays the entire year, and we work those every single day in a special play period. So that's something that, we spend a lot of time on. And then again, you may never know when you need it. You need it for a 2-point conversion to win a game, and you've not ran it all year, but you've ran it every day at practice, so the kids know exactly how to execute it. From there, we go into, we do a half line inside run. And then we also do, so like the first portion of this would be a 10-minute inside half line run. We also set up a gauntlet. So we'll have kids with pads. The running back has got to run through the gauntlet with the pads. And so that's a 10-minute period. We then will go into a defensive period for 10, and then we come back to a perimeter period. So if you can see at one end of the field, like this close-up angle right here is an inside period. The far end of the field, the kids are working perimeter. So once they go through that in a 10-minute period, we then go into a 7-on-7 period. And this is something that I stole from a coach who's at Christian Brothers now in Memphis. But I was at a clinic and I heard he go through this. He goes through a 7-on-7 period. And what we do with this is we don't huddle with this. Each kid will get one of these sheets, and it's got the kids numbered, 1 through 5. Yes, sir. I got you. 1 through 5. And so each kid has a sheet. They look at the sheet. We call out, hey, play 4, play 4, play 4. And they run the play. The next group steps up, hey, we got play 6. So we're able to kind of rapid fire through that piece of that 7-on-7. And again, still as many reps as possible. Also, we go here, any ball on the ground is considered a fumble. Anything in bounds is a scoop and score. We consider that a fumble. Again, this is just we also incorporate some half-line 7-on-7s depending on numbers, what we have, what we need, all of those type things, if that's need be. After that 7-on-7 period, we roll into a team period. So defensive team period is, and this is something too that was really good, is we got 2 huddles. And again, a lot of people do this, but this has benefited us. And I see the way it helps us is, we got one group running a play. We got another group after the play's ran, they'll go back to the huddle and get the next play. The other group comes in with the formation. And it could be something funky that the other team does. They may be, 75% spread, but jump into single wing or jump into something crazy or funky. And so we're able to line that formation up and get aligned to that from what we need from there. And then so they're you getting hit by both directions. So you got to be fast with the play call. You got to be good with your alignment, all of those type of things to get that done. We then come back again. If you were on inside the last time, you're moving down to perimeter. If you were on perimeter, you're moving to inside. So that's kind of how we switch that up. And again, every kid's getting reps. You're getting a ton of kids, different reps and everything from that. After that, after we're done with all that type stuff, we move into our goal line period. Again, we do a lot of stuff under center, and we move into our goal line period. That's a 5-minute period every day. And we work some single wing type stuff, or just, we call it Big Bethel. We also work some Maryland eye, the old Maryland eye, in goal line from there. And then we call it perfect 90. We'll do our 2-minute offense. We either do it before, depending on the day, we'll either do it before or after practice for a conditioning period. And that's something that we spend some time doing. And then this is one thing we do, a sideline to hash. We do this every day. We're going to work this every day. It's just you're working hand placement, you're working foot drive. And we're breathing fire on the kids again. Again, and it's just teaching the kids. We're going hand placement. We're going, some foot fire stuff there. We also got a beautiful heel with we make the kids run that. We try to get them 8 seconds up. They walk down. We're trying to simulate a play on a lot of that type stuff. And that's the fastest version of it. So that's the whole run through there.
I know it's like a speed run, but I actually really enjoy these because it forces us not to do the BS. I love it. I do. I love it. It gets me, my ADHD starts to kick in a little bit though, but no, I love it. I enjoy it. And, you have to be structured with the presentation or you're, you can kind of miss some things, but no, that's really it. I mean, I think we do, again, I've been able to be around some really good coaches. So I've just, again, like I know Coach said before, I've stolen a lot of stuff from them. And then, just kind of made it my own and tweaked it to what fits, the kids we have here and what's good for us. Can you go back to your slide on the one that had the weather, like the weekly layout? And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That was there's a lot of good things I think in here that I could spend 60 minutes asking questions. But I mean, where did this kind of idea and layout come from for you? And how have you kind of modified this as the years gone on? Or is there anything you're looking at it like, okay, for next year, I need to make these changes to it? Because I like this. This is especially for not just for your spouses, but for your coaches, your assistant coaches. Heck, it wouldn't even be bad for your kids as well. So
yeah, well, that's one thing that I had a parent meeting last week, and this is one thing I told them the parent meeting was, hey, I'm going to be sending these out weekly, to the parents. Not with some of the coaching nuances, of like what each coach is doing on the, sideline. I mean, and again, that's not a bad thing. It doesn't hurt if they know that. But no, again, a guy by the name of Jerry Boskin, he was a huge mentor of mine. He used to give us these, and he was like, he said, this is really more for your wives than it is, but it helps keep us organized. So we knew, again, what's the weather going to be? What do we need to do here? What are we doing here? And it's not too much information, but it's just enough. And so again, like I said, this year, this is something I give to my coaches during our meetings, and they can give their wives or do what they want to do with it. But then this year, I'm sending this out to our parents as well. We have a couple different ways of communication, Sports U and stuff like that. I'm going to send all these out weekly. So, they know everything we're doing down to our walkthrough on a Thursday or a Friday. And so all of those type of things and just having all that kind of stuff, but the thing, giving it to the kids is a great idea. And that's something that, again, I was going to do this year. So they knew everything that they needed to be, everywhere they needed to be, everything they needed to be doing.
Okay. Perfect, Coach. I'm going to throw Coach's Twitter in the X, whatever we're calling it nowadays. I'll probably just call it Twitter forever. I'm sorry. It's hard. I mean, I think me and Coach Hall talked about that before we got started today is that, I mean, change is hard for people. in general.
Yeah.
It's kind of against human nature. And so when you change something I've known for about a third of my life, its name for whatever reason that he chose to change it for, it's still a hard habit to break, Coach. I'm just saying.
Yeah, absolutely,
it is what it is. And but I think you did a fantastic job. Like I said, Coach's Twitter is X, whatever's in there. I mean, like I said, Coach is pretty easy to get hold of, and I know him and who do you just hold a click with? I know the name.
Tracy Malone. We did one with Tracy, and we had a bunch of guys, a whole bunch of really good. It was a phenomenal thing. It was really neat. So I'm gonna keep doing that annually, and probably maybe add a couple more.
Yeah.
Just as we go.
Yeah, because I've been trying to get Tracy on, and it's been like our schedules never align. Like it's almost every time I'm free, he's like going somewhere or vice versa. So, but Coach, I appreciate you. Coaches, don't be afraid to reach out to Coach Hughes. It was fantastic stuff, and I know he's got a couple other things he can share with you. But just so I don't stay on track, thank you again, Coach.
Hey, sounds good. Thank you, buddy.
Coach White, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good. How's it going?
It's going good. I mean, I'm trying to not go outside because it's been cold. We got a cold front coming through. So, other than that, good. You can share your screen whenever you're ready, and then while you're doing that, I'll introduce you and do all that lovely administrative stuff that I got to do. So far, everything's going well. Coaches that are watching, don't forget to hit the like button because it helps coaches find it and pop up on the main YouTube channel thingy, whatever. But that's here nor there. Coach White is the defensive coordinator at Ringgold High School down there in the great state of Georgia. Coach is going to be on a podcast that we've recorded already, but I mean, it was a fantastic conversation. And I figured, well, why not have him come on and talk some of the stuff he's doing? Because it is great stuff that I think Coach is doing. He's going to talk some of his 3 high safety stuff and how he got there and kind of what it looks like. And Coach, the floor is yours.
I appreciate you having me on. I'm just going to kind of zip through this. Like Coach Hughes was saying, we're going to kind of keep moving on. So I'm going to start with just kind of an overview about our defense and what we do and what we are here. So obviously we're a 3 high safety defense. We visit Iowa State 5 years ago. We've been running it for 4 years. This will be our 5th year in the defense. So we've tweaked it and modified it to fit high school and our personnel each year and all that. But it's something that I think's really benefited us greatly. I will never not go anywhere and not install this as my base. I think that's one thing people are sometimes intimidated by it based on your personnel, but I think you can format it to what your player strengths are. So we'll go through this pretty quick here. Our philosophy just that we use is ball down, ball out. Our kids love that. We try to also, as coaches, every day we're teaching life. And we talk about on defense, the ball's going to get put down. And most of the time, we don't control the circumstances of how the ball got put down, but it's our job to ball out. And we push that in life as well. We talk to our kids about, with your jobs, your spouse, your children, the ball's going to get put down, and it's your job as an adult male and figure and father and husband to ball out. So we try to always equate life to what we're trying to do. So ball down, ball out's our overall philosophy. What we are is a multiple odd front defense with 3 high safety. So, there's always the discussion of, is it 3-3-5? Is it, stack? What is it? We're a multiple odd front. You and I have talked before. I mean, I'll show some video in a little bit where there's times when you pause the film, you're not really sure, if someone were to ask what's your base front, they wouldn't really know what we are. But it's about our personnel grouping. So we're going to play with 3 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, and 5 DBs, which 3 of those are safeties. Why do we do it? We feel the versatility is just unmatched. Our rule, and our kids know, we did a basic install Thursday morning, and the first question is, what do we never do? And our kids know we never go palms up. We feel we can get lined up to anything. We can handle any motion. We just don't go palms up and show confusion or blame something, that's out of our control or anything. We feel it gets our better athletes on the field. I don't know about you guys, but man,
seems like it's getting more and more difficult to find, big D linemen at our school. We're in the state of Georgia, and so it's difficult ball. Coach Hughes is just talking about that down here. And so we feel we have a bunch of those hybrid type kids. And it fluctuates. We're cyclical like everybody else, but we just feel it gets our better athletes on the field. I think it's easy to disguise. And a lot of offensive guys, one of the first things they ask their quarterbacks, when you're identifying things, is it open or closed? Or there are two safeties on the hash, and here's your coverage tree you could get from that. It's a middle of field closed. Here's your coverage tree you can get from that. We feel that with our static alignment of three guys across at 8 to 10 yards, you don't really know what we're going to get into. So we kind of like the static pre-snap look, and then we'll do some things post-snap. And we like it because it's getting to where you can add various rushers. And, the hot topic now, everybody's talking about simulated pressures. Well, we've been doing these things for years, and it's just easier to disguise when you've got guys off the line of scrimmage coming from various levels of the defense. How do we do this? Well, we look at individual concepts, and I'll show that on another slide down the road here, how we give each position group kind of, such as alignment things and different things and individual concepts, and then we put them in group. And we've got to be big on this, that we feel that our coaches have to be on the same page with our verbiage, with our players, because we do a lot of things where if I'm working an apex technique, that may be our rover safety, and I may take some of the outside linebackers and work the same thing because times they're going to be an apex. Or if our joker safety is going down with our linebackers coach and he's working things where the joker's inserting from the mic, then we got to be able to communicate the same things. And then we put them into our team concepts. You can kind of look, this is just kind of a base alignment at us. In our tight front, we base out the tight front, and I'll get into more of our fronts and coverages. But, if you just look at day one camp install of tight cloud and what we do, we're not reinventing the wheel. Everybody plays split field safety coverages, and that's kind of our background. What I found with this is, like my buddy Adam Carter down at Lowndes, you can come from a stack background and maybe present it with more, closed type coverage systems and everything, or a stack alignment type stuff. I'm more of a split field guy coming from 4-2-5 and 3-4 stuff. So you can just look at how we are just day one camp install. Of our philosophy, we play with controlled aggression. I talk to our kids about, a snake's just going along minding its business. And depending on where we are on the field, we take our kids in the late spring and summer, and we literally walk 100 yards of the field. And we talk about field zones, what offenses would want to call, what we would want to call. And we talk about just, snakes. Nobody just wants to go up and grab them. Most people don't. And so we're going on. We're going to play controlled football and situational football. And when a snake gets threatened, it coils up. When it needs to strike, it does. And that's kind of how we go about it, is playing base defense. And when we need to add in and go down our pecking list of what we're going to do, that's how we do it. We're really big on situational defense. We work that at practice. Everything is situational based. I want our kids to understand nuances of, offensive play calling along with what we would call. And ultimately, it's about, to me, getting lined up and letting your kids play fast. Try to make it simple for them. We don't want them to overthink things, and we want to be able to play fast. Kind of how we go about doing that is, like I said, we have position alignment rules that allows us to adjust without me having to make a bunch of different calls. We use the term 4 to 6 A to B, the average play 4 to 6 seconds. We're trying to get point A to point B as fast as we can. We combo order play calls. And when I install it, we go through, everything about it. And eventually, as we've learned that, now we just narrow that down to 1 or 2 words and play. We try to have our automatic checks and ultimately play the next play. We're really big on that. We actually show college clips of where, a team, I used to do it at Alabama, where a team would give up a big play, bam, and those guys would run right back out and they're playing the next play. You can't worry about it, whether it's a good play for you or a negative play for you. You got to go. Our objective is we're trying to score on defense. I just went through these with our players the other day. We are trying to score. Make no mistake about it. We want to add points for us. We want to take the ball away. We use the term takeaway. We do not use turnover because that insinuates you're waiting on the offense to turn the ball over. We talk takeaway. We're going to take it away. We do takeaway circuits each week to kind of emphasize that. Then we're trying to force a punt, force a field goal attempt, ultimately keep the opponent out of the end zone. We feel these are kind of our pecking order right here of what we want to do. Limit big plays. Everybody does the research, and I think if you look at the explosives, that's going to narrow down a lot of offense being able to generate points and defense being able to get stops. Is can you limit big plays? We're going to stop the run. We always in our scouting thing, and that's one thing we've narrowed it down. I used to give these big things. Now it's a 1-page deal, and we want our kids to know we focus on us. We feel that if we focus on us, we should be able to call anything and be able to run it, but we're going to take away their top formations and their top 3 or 4 runs and passes. We want to contain the passing game. It's an offensive world today. These OCs are getting really smart at what they do and putting players in conflict and stretching the field and using every bit of it. So we know you're going to get some passes off, and we just want to contain that, and that kind of ties in limit big plays. Take away, like I said, what the opponent does best. We want to win first down. We do a lot of situational on first down. I mean, everybody talks about money down, which is you get off the field on third down, but we do a lot of best on best. First down, less than 4 yards, there's a winner and a loser. Offense, if they get 4 yards, we're up, down. And if they don't get 4 yards, offense is up, down. And so we try to win first down. And then obviously money down is really important to us, and finish. Everything we do, we start doing that even when we do our drill work in the off season. We're focusing on finish, and that's how we believe you can finish play, series, and game. This example of like our individual concepts. So our Sam, Mike, and Will, our 3 linebackers, the Sam has to understand he's going to play an apex, a 50, which is a back alignment, and what we call an up technique, and I'll kind of get to that. Our Mike is going to play a 10 and a 20. Our Will play an apex, a 50, a 20. He's the one that slides in and can play over a guard, and then also an up. Our free safety will play a cover down and also high technique. Our rover sometimes will have to get put in an apex position on the weak side, but mostly cover down and high. Joker's really got to know them all. He's the guy that can replace and go all over the field. In our corner, we also work press alignment where we can bail off that, and also an off technique where we can be pedaling out or playing catch. We talk in terms of our ACAT. Once again, this is what we installed Thursday with our players. An old term, everybody's always said defensively, don't get beat by alignment. So we're going to get, we have a teaching and performance because we don't want robots. So here's the way we install your alignment, but obviously a little common sense based on receiver splits and H-back alignments and offensive line splits. You can perform a line to put yourself in the best spot. I believe that your key and your eye discipline in this defense is kind of the most important. We talk in terms, and I really love this that we got from Iowa State: scan, zoom, and snap. So every position has a scan ID when the huddle breaks or when offense gets lined up. We zoom in on our primary key, and then once our primary key tells us what it is, we're going to snap our eyes to our secondary key. So if you're an inside linebacker reading a guard, bam, he gets a pull. We're going to yell pull, pull, pull. We're going to snap our eyes to our secondary key because you should know it's a gap scheme and somebody's coming down on you. Then we talk our assignment. Everybody's going to know run, to, and away, and pass. And then our technique, and that's what we call our ABC drills. Everybody talks everyday drills, EDD. We talk in terms of ABCs. I think it helps communicate with our coaches and also our players. And all that is your A is your agility drills, your body technique position drills within each front and coverage. B is for block destruction. So when we're doing our block destruction drills, our kids should know that. I can put on the practice schedule, hey, coaches, you got 5 minutes. Andy, let's work our B drills today. They know to incorporate block destruction. C is for contact, and that includes tackling and takeaway drills. So I heard Coach Hughes talking as I jumped on here. We also have every coach has a drill list and a position manual just so we can kind of be on top of things and be organized and structured in what we're doing. And then finishing everything we do, like I said, completion of the play, series, and game. The big key points, again, of what we really teach and narrow it down is our eye discipline. And one thing that we try to push, and not only just reading your key, and I think sometimes this gets undercoached, I know I did for years, is not only do you read your key, but the reaction time off that. I'll stand behind our safeties with a stopwatch. Half the time I don't even really time it. They just think I do. And we'll work, I'll call a coverage. We'll have a number 2 receiver. He'll have to read his key, and then I'll put a clock on what his reaction time is. So whether it's 2's out and we're playing 2 read, and he's got to get over the top of 1, how quick is he to his landmark where he needs to go? Let's say number 2 is blocking the apex defender, and I'm secondary force. How quick am I getting to the line of scrimmage? So we put a clock on it. So not only do we really stress reading the key, we stress the reaction once I've read that key. We use the term leverage and layer. I mean, yes, we talk gaps, but, gaps are very fluid. And so we don't spend a lot of time on that. We talk more in leverage. And that's, the near hip, near foot, near shoulder, gap hand, gap foot, man hand, man foot that everybody uses. But we want to leverage, and that to us talks horizontal. So we will do drills and we'll do walkthrough things for each position where we would say if we're in this front or coverage and the ball gets here, off tackle, what does that leverage look like? Where's everybody supposed to fit with our primary force, our secondary force, and our secondary contain? And then we're going to have a cap player on those leverage assignments as well. And then layer. And that's where I love the 3 high safety. And I think you've got to really stress it because it is one of those when you put it on the board. A buddy of mine, David Reeves, used to be the DC at UAB where I played at, said, offensively, you can draw a play up. A lot of times it looks really good and you get on the field and just doesn't work out like you thought with timing. Well, this is kind of the opposite. You draw up the 3 high and there. It looks like there's a lot of open spaces and some void areas. But if you read your key and you react, you leverage the ball, and then we layer it from all 3 levels. And then player position strengths. And I think this is one of the things that's important that I've talked to a lot of staffs that want to know about what we do, and they want to kind of dabble in the 3 high. And I'm like, well, you can still do it. And for us, we look at 2 main positions for this, and that's our joker. I don't call it the star. When we went to this, my son was playing that, so I didn't want to use the term star, so we call it joker. What's his position strengths? What does he do well? Is he a free safety that's just kind of playing there? It's more of a DB. Is he a linebacker that's moved back? Is he a hybrid kid? What can he do? And then we look at our will linebacker. And we've had various types of will linebackers. 2 years ago, our will was a sophomore who's now our Mike, but he was not very good at reading guards and getting in 20s. So we left him, and he basically played the will, but more as a jack type 3-4 mid front. And so we just formatted what we did around that. So we kind of look at our joker and our will, because you can really play the Sam. That could be, we played last year, our Sam linebacker broke his ankle the first dang play of pads, and we played the first couple of games with a nickel. We had technically had 6 DBs in. So we think in high school you can find that Sam outside linebacker, strong safety guy. And then also you got your weak safety, your free safety. Anybody that's running split field is going to position strength that. There's just my info right there. I'll move on to the next thing on what we do. This. So we have what we call a ready list. And this, I'm going to maneuver this a little bit where everybody can see it. This just puts all our fronts and coverage. This is just everything that we can do. Our fronts, coverages, 4-man pressures, 5-man, our sim stuff on 3rd down, our movements with our D-line, our coverages, our 3x1 checks. There's our directional calls, and I'll get into that, how we pressure, our position concepts like you saw. So this just puts everything down on paper for us. What we try to do then, Coach, is go to down and distance calls. And obviously, stopping the run is our first thing. So we look at how we format it here off run down base call. So kind of our pecking order, our kids know this, and we've got all 3 linebackers returning, and I met with them the other day after weights, and I make them have to tell me the pecking order. So what we're going to do is play our tight front against 10P. So if we're facing 10P, our pecking order is going to be the tight front. We're going to play tight front, 2-4 eyes, a head up nose, and we're going to attempt to stop the run with that. We've got our base coverages that go along with the tight front. If that's not working, we'll move and stem to our bear front, and that's just what it is. That's just what I think in vernacular day, people are calling it penny, the penny front. A lot of people do, so we'll go to bear. And then down here at the bottom, you can see that after that, we will go to our Bravo, which Coach Mack at Fast Football does a lot of this with his 3 high, and that's just we take the mic and we insert him. And we do some movements with it and insert our mic in the big gap just to get into really a 4-2-5 over under front using the mic. And then we can replace him with a joker safety. And that's kind of our top 3 things we do to stop the run. If that's not working, then we go to what we call our par pressures, which are our 5-man stuff, our pass and run pressures. And those are just fire zones. So, and when we call those, you saw in the last we have directionals, and I really like the way we do this. It's just really blitz the formation. So you can see the first one right here, we've got Saul. That's just Sam and Will off the edge. So I could go Saul 2, and we're going to the running back, or I can go Saul field. So we can go fire field, and that's just America's blitz that everybody runs. I could go fire Y if we want to run it to the sniffer, the H-back, or an inline tight end. So that's kind of what we get to in our pecking order, stopping the run. If we're seeing 11P, we're going to play the tight front, same thing. We just add a coverage in that we can play that's just solely for 11P sniffer stuff. We'll still move to our bare front, and then we get into our tough and mint, which is what you think, which Georgia runs the mint front, and that's really what we're trying to do, Coach, is tough talks to our Sam, and we'll identify an 11P where they're trying to run the ball, and that's where you saw in our position alignment groups, the Sam and Will have an up technique, and all they're doing is we're getting them closer to the line of scrimmage to have a quicker edge setter. And so tough talks to the Sam, mint talks to the Will. So one of the things I love, and since we call it up, I can just signal up, Y, and we count that as a sniffer. So whatever side the sniffer's on, we're going to get into our tough and mint front. We're seeing a lot of buck into the boundary with RPO. So, I want our Will linebacker that if we're playing tight front and they're running buck in the boundary and we're having a little trouble, I want him to be able to go, hey, coach, let's get in mint. Let's get me up there in the up alignment. So that's our pecking order of how we attempt to stop the run. And I tell our guys, to get to the fun stuff, simulated pressure, you got to earn the right to rush the passer. So we really focus a lot on stopping the run with our rundown calls and our pressure. And when we do get to a true passing down, and what we do on this is we equate it to 70% tendency. So if we look at a certain down and distance as 70% tendency to pass the ball on offense, we'll get into our sim stuff. And those are just, we run a solid front, which is just our 5 up, where everybody runs that, and we're coming with a couple different looks. We run our mug front, where we're just in an odd mug look, and we run our cross dog and our read blitz on the center. And our show and our walk is just we're overloading that balls type front stuff, where we're going to bring pressure from that side, and then we'll run a simulated coming from depth, and then we'll bring both our nickel and our free and drop our outside guys. So it's not reinventing the wheel out of that. And our coverage of that is we play what we call cover 6, which is just 3 deep, 3 under fire zone that we do that. We give ourselves a grade each week. There's kind of our points of emphasis. We do points per possession. We don't do total points anymore, because you could face a single wing type team that wants to keep the ball and maybe only have it 6 or 7 possessions. But, if they score 21 points, well, that could be, 3 points in a dang possession. Where we look at, you could face a spread team that's running up tempo and trying to get 10 or 11 possessions. So we look at more points per possession. Our D-line coach gives us a team grade each week. And so if we win first down, less than 4 yards, we get a positive for that. Second down, we're trying to hold them to less than what they have to go for the first down. And on money down, we're getting off the field. So we found that, crazy enough, you're getting in the 60% range, you're winning football games. It's very difficult, we feel, to get up in the 70s. We've had that a couple of times, a couple of years ago when we had a really top 10 defense in the state. So
5 minutes, Coach.
That's kind of how we do things. Talking about our ECAT, I'll show you what we do. So every position group has what we call an ECAT sheet. So you can see this is my safety one. You've got D-line down here, linebackers, but like the safeties, there's their alignment, their key assignment technique. And so we've got all our coverages draped out across here, and it's going to tell them, if we're playing cloud 2 read, hey, I'm inside leverage 10 yards off number 2. We perform a line off number 2 splits. Our key number 2 to the quarterback. Scan, zoom, snap, like we're talking about. My assignment, I'm secondary force on the run. Number 2's vertical. I've got him all of him. Number 2's out. I top 1. What's my technique? We talk in terms of first, second, third gear pedal. So I'm on 2 gear pedal out, weave to protect the post. open my hips if two's out, and I've got to get over top of one. So we do this. Like I like what our corners coach does for his. We'll show this on here. And he has down at the bottom of his where you can see cornerback at a glance. So he does a good job. He's grouped everything. We talk in the terms of same as, like a lot of coaches. So these three coverages are the same as for corners. So he's grouped it up. We feel that we put this on our Google Classroom for our kids. So they study this in the off season. They've been doing this for the spring. So we feel just the more mentally prepared they can be when we really hit the ground running in the summer, it's kind of good to go. I've got a little time here. We'll watch a few clips on this. So here's a good example. We're facing this is the first game of the year, and we had no idea this team was going to come out with 11 personnel. So you can see we've called tight cloud. What's happened here is they've given us a nasty split with an inline tight end. Our safety has checked our sky check, which is just 4 lock. Plus, our weak safety, he has the ability with a split field coverage. He's called storm on this side, so we're basically quarter down here. And here's a good look at the joker, what the 3 high can do. So there's my son right there. We ended up switching these two a couple of games in. Our Mike did better at the wheel, and he did better inside. So you'll see this. Just some quick. So here they motion in. I love our communication right here. Our joker's aligning off number 3. Here we go. Our Mike he goes with flow of the back, but there's the joker unblocked. So you can play kind of a lag technique with him, which is a lot of 3 high teams do. So he's the Q pull C gap defender. Corner's playing the pitch off the nub side. You can see it's a good look at our joker right there. Fit making the play. Here's the same formation to the other side. We still make our strength call to the 2-speed side. We don't really care about an inline tight end because we feel our Sam and Will can adjust on that. We're really a field defense. So our safety, here's a good look at this. So we check storm down here, which is quarters to us, where the outside linebacker in this case would take all of 2 out and up. We're playing mod on number 1. Safety's key in 2. If he's out, he'll bracket 1. And I believe we're playing that to both sides. So it's a good look at eye discipline. So if you look at the safety down here on the hash, as soon as 2 goes out, I'm over the top and I'm going to top 1. Notice also our pre-snap alignment, our corner, we're showing that 2-read static look. But the snap, he's going to square up and now play mod quarters. Good press technique by him. Notice a good coaching point here. Anytime you're playing quarters, or what we teach the term called off. So our outside linebackers here are going to work and take 2 out, but you notice this is a negative route with a bubble. So we're going to cough. We're going to work the curl over to the flat and not go jump that negative route. Only thing I'd like here, to be honest with you, and this is one reason we switched. It's a 3rd down, or 2nd down. We switched put our nickel in. It's actually a wide receiver up top that rush passer. So we're slanting the front. Long. Gotcha. The mic should be triggering right here. How long have I got, Coach?
About a minute and change.
All right. Well, I'll show one clip where it can just show here's a good look that you'd say, all right, they're in 11 personnel, really 21 personnel. So you can see how we lined up. We're going to match the tight end with our wheel walking up right here. Joker makes the sky check. They're trying to get us to spin the coverage and do a bunch of movements, but we handle all the motion and adjustment. I throw a tight end screen, we come right back to it. But once again, you can just see the versatility. So this is the same offense, the very next play with the same personnel grouping, and now they give you a spread. So here we go now. We line up. I like this. So they're going to hard count us. Now watch our guys. Everybody's going to communicate. Here we go. We're changing our stuff. You can see the joker checking that. So last one right here I'll talk about. So what I love about this, talking situational defense, our Mike and our joker know, hey, we're protected in our coverage call, playing 2-read. They're responsible for screen and draw. It's 3rd and 8. We know that we can get about 9.5 yards, 7.5 yards, and they're going to punt. So there's the Mike and there's the joker fitting. Run a Q draw on 3rd and long because they're backed up in their own territory. They get 2 yards in football. So, you know what I was saying? We just feel the versatility of what we do. lends itself in this defense. Like I said, I love the 3 high safety. I could talk on it for days and get more intricate in exactly what we do, but I believe there's specific ease in the way we approach it and the way we teach and install that allows our kid the ultimate goal, which is to play fast and be able to handle all the dang stuff that offense are throwing at us today.
Okay. Well, coaches, a couple things. One, I already put coach's Twitter, X, whatever it's called in there. You can get a hold of him pretty easy. Give him a follow. Reach out to him. We have a podcast coming later this year. I don't remember when it's scheduled to release off the top of my head. Also, I'll ask one question real quick so we don't go too far over. Kind of like, I mean, just for some basics of installing this, like, is there any notable hiccups that like immediately come off your head that you kind of have to deal with as you kind of coaches transition to this route?
I think being able to, people ask me all the time, we've played 4 years with this and probably played every snap, but maybe 4 or 5 with 3 D linemen. So being able to, how are you going to handle when you're getting, because now everything's full circle coming back. You're seeing more offenses go 11P, 12P, 21P. And so how are you going to handle that? What's your adjustment going to be? Can you get to an under front out of this? Are you going to handle it with a bare front? So I believe for us, it's just taking your player position strengths, and then how are you going to handle when teams are going to try to big boy you, which is what everybody feels they need to do to the 3 high, is try to close up the space and try to bully you and big boy you. You know what I mean? So how are you going to handle that? You've got to have the answers, and that's kind of why I went through. Here's our pecking order of exactly how we're going to handle things. So if we're going to get 21P, here's what we're going to get in based off our player position strengths, what we do well, what the offense is trying to do out of 21P. So I would say having your adjustments ready. You know what I mean? That's the big thing.
Okay. Perfect, Coach. Well, coaches, give him a follow. Reach out to him if you need anything. Coach, I appreciate you as always. If you need anything from me, let me know. Just unshare your screen so I can, and then we can kind of continue on. Again, I appreciate you, Coach White.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on. Enjoyed it, Coach.
Thank you. I'm going to kind of get rolling into our next speaker, Coach Hine. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Sir, do you hear me?
Yes, sir. Okay, perfect. So you go ahead and share your screen when you're ready, Coach. I'm going to do my little introduction, my little stuff while we make that switch. Coaches, again, like the video, helps people find it and all the YouTube algorithm crap. But I'm going to get to our next speaker. Coach Matthew Hine is the head football coach at Southern Wayne High School. He's going to talk run fits from his 3-5 defense. Coach, the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and talk 3-5. As you can see there, I got all my contact information up on the screen. I'll try to hop back to that at the end of this as well. You got my phone number. You have my private email there. You got my Twitter tag there. I'm going into my second year as a head coach at Southern Wayne. We are Eastern North Carolina, a little town called Dudley, about halfway between Raleigh and the coast. As I said, I'm in my second year there as the head coach. I serve as the defensive coordinator as well. I've been a defensive coordinator. I moved to North Carolina from upstate New York. Had been defensive coordinator for since 2006 at my previous school. Installed the 3-5 starting in 2007 and have been using it ever since. Love the defense, as the previous coach said. Could talk about it all day. I'm going to try to keep this, to right on point here. We're talking 3-5 run fits today. But as I go through this, if you have any questions, certainly chime in. And with all that contact information, please feel free to reach out to me at any point, and I'll try to answer your questions. I love to talk this defense. So, first of all, I think it's important to start with the fact that the 3-5, whether you're playing 3-5, whether you're playing an under, an over, a bear, it doesn't matter what the defense is. You've got to know, and you've got to teach your kids how to fit into that. And so for us, the way we like to teach that, we talk about fit being, in different phases. We talk about a horizontal fit. How do we fit in horizontally with each other? And that ties into the other one, which is a vertical fit. The horizontal fit, we always talk to our kids about trying to build a wall. And where do you fit in relationship to that wall? The vertical fit ties into that in that, we, as much as we're 3-5 and we're blitz 99, we're blitzing virtually every play. As a previous coach said too, we are also, we're 3-man front 99% of snaps. And we do a lot of stuff with one word calls where we teach from our language how to, basically blitz into an under, blitz into an over, blitz into the bear front. So we do a lot of teaching around that, but we are always teaching our kids to, defensive linemen, linebackers on a blitz. We're teaching kids that we are, as that 6-man box, and depending on formations, our 2 outside linebackers. Depending on formation and situation, they fit into this as well. We are, as box players, run first players. And that goes for when we're blitzing too. So, whether we're playing defensive line or whether we're blitzing one of the inside run gaps, we want to be disciplined about replacing that offensive lineman's butt with our butt and finding that football and not creating a new gap by getting too far vertically upfield. So, we talk about that all the time with our kids, that it's not just a horizontal fit in terms of building that wall from side to side along the defensive front. We talk all the time about, don't get too deep. So that goes for when we're blitzing, as I said there. The secondary obviously has to know where they fit in. And we spend so much time trying to get through to our kids that gaps move. As soon as the play snaps and the offense starts moving, your gap moves, and you've got to fight to stay into space. You've got to figure out where your gap's moving to and fit in once the play starts as well. We break down every single opponent when we break down over the weekend. We believe we can categorize every single thing that any offense runs, doesn't matter what the scheme is. We believe we can drop it into one of 4 categories. Is it a drop back pass, quick 3-step, 5-step? Is it sprint, boot, things leaving the pocket that are pass? Is it an interior run, between the tackle box, or, if they play with a tight end, play with a sniffer, where does it fit inside that box? Or does it hit outside? Does it try to get outside of the tackle tight end area and hit between that edge and the sideline? And so we break every single opponent down and try to put every single play that they run into those 4 categories. And then we, that gives us a great idea where to spend our time teaching during the week about, what offenses do. Because, it's surprising to me even now. I've been, coaching this game for 20 something years now. I'm sometimes shocked to break opponents down and see that, they don't have things in all 4 categories. So just teaches you to not spend your time on something you don't need to worry about because the team hasn't shown it. In terms of inside run, we categorize that as plays that move downhill. They attack the line of scrimmage in that 6-man box. And our general rules on this is that, and so you can see there PSIM, we categorize our defense as I's, which are the 2 inside stacked backers, M, which is your Mike, O's, which are 2 outside backers, 2 ends and an O's. Go come back to the slide I was just on, but there you can see it. We categorize our defensive players like that. We tag everything. We are tagging, and that'll, for a couple of reasons. Number one, that allows us to match speed with offenses. I can hand signal. We risk coach our entire defense. We have a 5x5 box on that risk coach, so we can holler out up to 25 stunt calls that we want to run, but we also will hand signal and can hand signal, just so much stuff. And so, when we originally put this in going back to 2007, we, were one of those teams that, if we wanted to blitz the Sam and the Mike, we had some word that, had S and M in it. Feedback from our kids was not good. You could visually see that they're not playing fast. So we took some feedback from them, and we went to this system with the inside stack backers are I's, the Mike is the M, the two outside linebackers are O's, and we tag everything. We're signaling. Like for an example, if we wanted to blitz into an over front, we, from the offense that you're seeing there with a tight end, we are going to go, slant weak, I strong, or we might go slant weak, O strong, and we are going to send, the slant back to the two-man surface on the left of the screen, and we're going to blitz the I or the O, and we're blitzing into an under or an over front. So that's how we call our defense. And so when we their general rules are if you're the play side I, you're attacking run through your first open window and hitting fitting in based on the leverage of that ball carrier. So our eyes, they read guard to near back, with the multitude of offenses that are now split back, and the back comes from the backside. That's a scouting thing for us. We often are reading the backside running back as an I. So the M's read the triangle. They're reading through both guards. If you get flow away from you on an inside run as an I, your first responsibility is to cut back, which is backside A gap, and then to the football. All of our outside linebackers spend, everyday drill, constantly working on, gladiator run fits. They're striking with that shield on their inner arm. They're squeezing all plays and expanding slowly as they have to. And again, they're not getting too far upfield. They're fitting in on that wall on the edge and looking to, string plays out and turn, any inside run play essentially into sweep. All backside O's are shuffling and replacing that backside I who went to the cutback lane and then to the pursuit of the football. And as they're doing that, they're reading for, counter, cutback, reverse, all that kind of stuff. All our linebackers, we drill them constantly and are constantly saying step to your stack, step to your stack, step to your stack. They're always taking 2 pop steps coming forward directly at the stack guy in front of them. And when we're getting outside run, which we categorize as fast flow, shoulders turn is usually the key we're giving our linebackers, especially for that. Shoulders turn and they're sprinting to the sidelines. That outside linebacker to the play has to squeeze, set the edge, and then widen begrudgingly, slowly. That play side I is scraping outside and pursuing from inside out with leverage. Same thing for that Mike. He's going through that first open window, and, we have to drill our Mikes constantly about that. We do not want our Mikes to, be scraping and replacing that I. We want that, they may have to do that depending on situation, but, we're really trying to teach that Mike to find the first open window, get through it fast, and bend to that football. Because we've been burned before with our Mike linebackers just over pursuing the football. They didn't get through that first open window. They over pursue as they come from inside out, and they get outside leverage. And now they've lost that inside cutback lane, and backs plant their, backs are great athletes. They plant their foot. They come back inside where that Mike should have been, and he's not there because he over pursued. So we're constantly drilling our Mikes inside out through that first open window. Again, you see backside eyes checking backside A first, and then banana path to the football. Backside O is shuffling and replacing and looking for all that stuff that comes back. Here you see we've got, we get back to that. We are constantly, and we drill this every day with our linebackers. We are key response. Again, they're reading guard through the near back. And again, with all the shotgun spread teams and with backs that come across the quarterback's face, that changes week to week and opponent by opponent. We definitely will key those out. Inside linebackers on the far back, if we get a ton of cross face action and the back comes from the opposite side of the field. But their first job is to read the block that happens in front of them. If they see down block in front of them, they're scraping tight to get to that C gap window. If they see the parting of the C's in front of them, if that gap opens up in front of them, guard steps one way, steps inside towards the center, tackle steps and tries to seal our defensive end to the outside. That C opens up. We teach them to explode through that window, make it look like they're blitzing. Pull away, they're shuffling across. If they're pulling two, they're treating that, the same as they would treat a reach block. On scoops, we're getting to A and looking into cutback lane. And, obviously high hat, when we see that, we're reading pass. Same thing with the outside linebackers. We give them a key set of rules. And we drill that all the time, everyday drills. We build our everyday drills around this box here. And again, fast flow to them. We typically define, in most offenses, is that the back that you're keying has turned his shoulders and he's coming at you as fast as he can go. When that's coming to us, we're trying to squeeze the first thing we find. Could be a lead block, like when we get jet sweep. A lot of times the back is flying out of the backfield, trying to come to our outside linebackers, or trying to come to our corner, depending on formation and things like that. We want to squeeze that lead block. We want to squeeze any kick block that they attempt to bring to us. And we are going to expand, but we're going to expand slowly. We don't want to give that ground up if we don't have to, and we are the contained player. And if that goes, if we see that fast flow away from us, we are shuffling, replacing that eye, looking for boot, looking for counter, looking for reverse, and then we're pursuit to the football. We should be, if that's me playing outside linebacker, fast flow away, I should be the second to last football player to the ball. The only player that should be on a deeper path in terms of pursuit in that situation would be the backside cornerback. When those outside linebackers get an inside flow to them, they're fitting in on that outside edge of the wall, and they're protecting against bounce. Everybody that's inside of them is trying to turn that inside flow running play into a sweep. So they're expecting the bounce. We talk worst case scenario with our kids all the time. And so that's their worst case scenario, that back, everybody gets squeezed in and that back bounces, and we've got to be the guy there playing the bounce, and we want to attack the football. When we do that, any inside flow away, we're again shuffling back to kind of replacing where that inside linebacker on our side of the field started out. And we're looking for boot, counter, reverse, and then to the pursuit path. When we get fast flow to us with a crack call from our corner, we load our kids up and we want them to be like a missile attacking that. We get a ton of crack blocks playing the structure of defense we do in this 3-5. Everybody wants to attack the outside shoulders of our outside linebackers with their receivers. And so we have to spend a lot of time drilling our kids on how to play crack, and then you can see their rule there for if they get past. The Mike's reading the triangle of the two guards to the near back. He's reading and stepping to the ball's path. He's got to be great at reading which guard is attacking him and attack that guard. Attacking the line of scrimmage, getting to that first vacated window. Don't hang back. We want you downhill. We want you into the first window. We want you trusting the inside linebacker and the outside linebacker to the side that flow is going to, and trusting that they're doing their part, setting that edge, getting fit into the wall of the defense, and that you are a 100% inside-outside player. You've got to drill your defensive line in the same kind of thing, the same kind of reactions to blocks in this defense to get them to fit in correctly. When that defensive end is getting a down block, and, we base with our defensive ends as C-gap players. So when they get a down block, what we're teaching them is that as they step to the, either the inside hip or the outside hip of the tackle that they're aligned over, based on call, we want them to recognize what's happening. Are they getting down blocked? Were they responsible for the outside half of the tackle, and now that tackle down blocked and disappeared inside? Well, our inside hand should strike the chest, our outside arm should go to the hip, and we should change that offensive tackle's path and fit in hip to hip, with our butt at their butts level, and work downhill, get ready to be flat down the line of scrimmage and make a play. If we get down with a pull coming across, we want to wrong arm that, spill it, trap the trapper. If we get, we're responsible for the outside half. We've got a tight end on the outside or a sniffer or something like that outside. We get doubled down. The tackle we're lined up over disappears down, and we feel pressure coming from the outside trying to down block us. That's almost like a double team to us. We're sinking our base. We're fighting back, trying to stay square. And again, a lot of times that's GT or GY or GH counter, those kinds of things, and we're trying to, if we can, trap that puller across. Same thing with double team, sink that base. If we recognize reach, we're striking hard, shuffling down the line of scrimmage, and then you can see the pass rules there. So there you see, when we get inside run, like in terms of, one thing we do see still, mostly out of pistol, we don't see a lot of under center teams in the league we play in, but we still do get things like, straight downhill ISO, where we're trying to attack into that B gap. As you see there, the Mike should be reading that play side double to him and getting downhill and fitting in on the inside. The inside linebacker should be getting to the outside of that block coming at them. And that's the parting of the C's concept, making sure that we recognize that parting of the C and get downhill into that, take on that block and fight to hold space and meet the blocker on the other side of the line of scrimmage. In terms of power, which we see a ton of from teams we play, a lot of times, we don't, some people think it's kind of counterintuitive, but we don't want our outside linebackers, especially against a team that runs a lot of power to us, up on the line of scrimmage. We want them seeing that from space, and so that they can see that coming and set that edge. And that's a drill thing, a practice thing. We teach that play side end to play that double team and hold ground, the play side eye to recognize.
5 minutes, coach.
Yep, thanks. Down concept, scrape and get restacked and get to the line of scrimmage, fit in there. The Mike attacks the guard and plays inside out. And we try to do a lot of stuff with the free safety. We play a lot of games with the free safety so that we can get the free safety involved and into the alley and run down those kinds of plays, from an unblocked defender coming from the free safety. When we're talking stretch and toss and things going to the outside, again, the end's got to feel that reach block and fight to continue down the line of scrimmage if he didn't get to the outside edge of that. The play side inside linebacker cannot get pinned by a tight end or anybody trying to come down any of that crack concept stuff. They've got to dip and rip, get stacked up on that line of scrimmage. The Mike runs the open window and runs a play inside out. That play side O has got to attack any lead block coming with that or or any reach block if there's no lead blocker coming with that. Set the line of scrimmage, expand flat, and pace that ball. And again, we work all the time with those kinds of concepts on who's coming to crack us from outside, trying to set the offense an edge and get outside of us by using that crack concept. We do see some option. A lot of the option we see these days is all RPO based. We do see one team that still, gets in a shotgun and runs, split backs and is coming, opens up one direction, comes downhill with one back, and the other back is getting behind, that exchange, the potential exchange, and then getting into option formation and an option relationship going to that side of the play. So we definitely, are teaching option rules with our kids. In general, our outside linebackers are pitch and contain. We play a ton of zone. We do play some cover one. We do play some cover zero. We play a little bit of cover two, not very much, but we play a lot of zone. And it's always been my belief that you've got to play those option teams by playing by sitting in zone. You take in a 3-5, you take those outside linebackers away from being able to play the pitch if you're playing man to man with them on the outside. And so we are very aware of who we see on our schedule that runs option because we want to be able to play zone. So there you can see that concept that I was talking about, the downhill with the back that the quarterback opens to with the other back getting behind. That fullback's path is important. Whoever the B gap players got to take that inside downhill run game away, and whoever the C gap players are have got to get to the quarterback, and then the outside linebackers and the free safety are running to the pitch man. We do see a lot of speed option. I don't know why, because I feel like speed option is almost one of the easier things for us to stop out of the structure that we play in a 3-5. But again, outside linebackers have to know that when we get that kind of offensive play calling coming to us, that often comes with a crack or with something from the outside coming and trying to block down on that first inside defender, which in our case at the second level is those outside linebackers. So we've got to dip and rip, get through that and get back to the line of scrimmage and find that pitch man. And we talk a lot and drill a lot about making sure that whoever's responsible for the pitch man, you go hit the pitch man every time. Let the referee tell you to stop hitting the pitch man, and you just tell him, I don't know, they didn't have the ball. And make that official stop you from hitting him, and the same thing on the quarterback there. We see a ton of this, the zone option out of the spread. We have, we've moved to more of, the 5-man secondary look because of how much true spread looks we get. So a lot of times, it depends on personnel. We're huge on trying to evaluate what our personnel on and know what they can do and what they can't do, and putting them in situations that they can play in. The last, not so much this past year, but definitely the year before, we had an outside linebacker. We didn't want anything to do with him having to play coverage out in space, deep in the field. And so we, spent a year with the two outside linebackers really flip-flopping, reading formations when offenses came to the line of scrimmage or broke out of huddles. And he might not be 2x7 with a second receiver removed to his side. He might be up more 5 yards. But we definitely have stepped our outside linebackers back against those 2x2 and, obviously trips looks as well. And we're, when we get these zone option teams, and we get this a lot, it's probably the number one thing we see. We are definitely cross-reading that, reading opposite back. We put the mic on the most dangerous guy. Is it your quarterback that's going to kill us, or is it your running back that's the better player? And we're going to put the mic on that guy all day. And then we want our ends to squeeze anything that disappears inside them in terms of blocks and read the quarterback. And there you see it, hit that quarterback. If that quarterback is threatening your edge, trying to hold a defender over there to not fit in on that inside zone path, you've got to make that quarterback pay a price for that and keep hitting them and make the officials tell you to stop hitting them. And just that we train our kids on the response. Well, I didn't know he didn't have the ball. I thought he had the ball, and make the officials stop the contact on the quarterback. Because, if the quarterback's presenting the ability to run and he's trying to fake and hold one of your defenders, it's you got to fit in on him, and you've got to make sure that he doesn't have the ball, number one. And number two, give him some second thoughts about continuing to run the football. We don't see a ton of dart. We see a ton of this. We see a ton of GT counter where we have ends squeezing and wrong arming. That play side eye is trying to attack that line of scrimmage now. We typically get the nose doubled. Our noses, we teach that as a badge.
Got about a minute, Coach.
All right, that nose better get doubled, or we're going to be looking for a different guy. In terms of our structure, we're trying to put our three best football players: nose, Mike, free safety. We've toyed with doing that with including the outside linebackers in that mix, but we've found it's most important to get those three guys straight up the middle to be studs. And then, the one thing I didn't get, I'll just leave you with this, is like the importance of those outside linebackers and all these spread formations, giving I'm out calls to the box inside them, so that when you get an I'm out call, it doesn't matter what I called anymore from the line of scrimmage. We want our inside linebackers to be able to play outside, so that they're potentially covering guys. They're responsible for C-gap in the run, but they might have to play out, out into the flats and out into the field to play against the pass. So, when we get removed by by formation as an outside linebacker, we're making I'm out calls. And now it doesn't matter what I called. The end plays inside the B-gap, and the inside linebacker is playing C-gap. And so he doesn't have to be able to play outside in the pass and also be responsible for B-gap in the run. So I think I got right up to the last slide there. So I appreciate the opportunity to come here. I don't know if anybody's got any questions. I certainly would love to talk ball any point with anybody who has any questions about this. And just one more time right there, you got all my contact information, phone number, private email, my Twitter handle. Thanks for the opportunity to come talk some 3-5.
Coach, perfect. Coaches, his Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, is in the YouTube chat. So all that's good there. I'll ask you one quick question. I know we're a little over scheduled, but I mean, Coach Simmons has as long as he needs. My main question is, do your coverages affect your run fits at all? I don't know how complicated you get with your coverages. That's a whole different probably clinic in itself, but does it affect your fits at all?
Really, our coverages do dictate some to the run fits. All coverages definitely dictate to run fits. We play a ton of cover 3. We are a pattern read. The majority of our coverage time is spent running pattern read out of cover 3. And so we really try to slow those outside linebackers down and make them realize that, from a 2-by-7 alignment, if you've got a second receiver out to your side of the field and you've been removed from that box, if you are being disciplined and sitting back at 2-by-7, you've got a little bit of time to read and react to what happens in front of you. And so that you've got that moment to, read your key and see what's happening in front of you, and then try to figure out as fast as possible, run pass and then where I fit in. But we also spend a ton of time with our inside linebackers, like you got an I'm out call and you're now the C-gap player. You have now taken over a lot of that force contain role. Your outside linebacker may be coming, but he's coming slower. You still have a corner on your side since we play zone, but he's coming even slower than that. So definitely our coverages certainly affect our run fits.
Okay. Well, perfect, Coach. Thank you again, coaches. Either use the contact information on the screen or the tweeter or X, whatever we want to call it. Coach, you can go ahead and unshare your screen, and then we can get to our last speaker for session 1. Let me make sure. Coach Simmons, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How you guys doing?
Doing good, Coach. Doing good. Like I said, you can share your screen as I kind of get through my blurb for the YouTube people. As people keep funneling in and out. I mean, we've had over 100 different people on so far. It's part of the reason why I just do this on YouTube, because I don't have to change my Zoom subscription that way.
That's smart.
Well, there's a big price difference at that point, Coach, and I'm a poor teacher. So, but coaches, again, I know we're running a little bit behind, but again, nobody's on after Coach for after over an hour, so he's got he kind of gets the luxury spot of take his time if he wants. But coaches, obviously like the video, helps it pop up on the YouTube algorithm, whatever that is, so people can find it. That's the main thing I want, is just people be able to find these great group of coaches that we've had talk today. But as I kind of said, we're going to kind of finish up with our first part today before we go to kind of our dinner break. Coach Brandon Simmons is the offensive coordinator at Southeast Raleigh High School there in the great state of North Carolina. He's going to talk running back 101, run game, pass protection, hot routes, and a whole other slew of things. He also helps run I'll put this in the bio as well, the North Carolina Connect Twitter as well. Am I missing anything, Coach? I don't think I missed. I think that's kind of most of your blurb that I think I.
Not at all. Give me 1 second to
You're
make
good,
sure
Coach.
that my screen can share. Give me 1 second.
You're good.
How you doing today, Coach Hine? You doing all right? Absolutely. Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Yep. And while you're doing that, I'm gonna pop your stuff Twitter. And again, coaches, like all that jazz. I am trying to, as Coach gets this set up, I'll get his Twitter put in the bio. Where is? Here we go. Like, if only I could spell, Coach. That would be. So, we lost Coach for a second. He's probably going to just pop back in. So, coaches, like I said, while we're waiting on Coach Simmons to fix his little issue and jump back on, again, like last time, all this stuff will be cut up and put out at some point this week. So that will be so if you want to watch these individually, and then the whole clinic will be still on the channel and stay and good to go. And
1 second.
Yep.
Almost there. So I had to update. Had to update.
You're good.
And I think that
your screen is shared. So
okay. Screen, and let me get this. All right, 1 second. I do apologize. Let's see. Let me pull this. Oops.
You're good.
Okay. Okay. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. And like I said, Coach is going to talk running back 101. Everything is there. So the coach, the floor is yours.
All right, absolutely. Well, first things first, thank you for inviting me over. Well, thank you for making the opportunity available for me to speak. I've been following you for quite some time, and I personally think that you're doing a great job by giving back to our program. Okay, so I do appreciate it. All right. Today's focus for us is on running back 101, running game, pass protection, and hot routes. Let's begin. So this is what the overview is going to look like today. I'm first going to lead off by briefly touching on the many alignments, in an offense from shotgun to under center to pistol. And after that, we're going to shift to run game. Okay. I'm not going to really dive into the weeds with the blocking responsibilities of the offensive line. I will touch on them momentarily, but my focus will be on the discipline that tracks and just coaching the running back position. Okay. Then after that, we're going to shift to running back pass protection, where we'll touch on Bob versus combo and slide. And then lastly, we'll close everything out by touching on the running back hot routes, tips, and then a quick recap. Okay. So first, let's talk about alignments. Okay. So the first alignment we'll touch bases on is gun. In the football world, we call it sidecar. Whichever way whichever language you prefer to use, that's perfectly fine. But for shotgun alignment, typically, we ask our backs to line up 5 yards behind the guard, place our guard, depending on the play. But usually, the toes of the running back is on the heels of the quarterback. Okay, for a variety of different reasons. Okay. There's passing game responsibility, there's run game responsibilities, then there's blocking responsibilities as well. Stances range from 2-point stance to the 3-point stance. Typically, the heavier fullback athletes, they line up in 3-point stance to improve their get off. And the lighter backs, that's a little bit quicker, they typically line up in 2-back. Just a tip for this alignment, chief for success. And what do I mean by that is this. Some backs are faster than others. So if you feel that your running back isn't hitting the hole the way he needs to hit it based off of, his responsibility, move him up. Okay. But if you feel like he's hitting the hole a little bit too quickly, then move him back. Okay. But that's what I mean by just based off of athleticism or runner. Okay. The second alignment that we'll touch on is under center. I know that there's a lot of programs that's getting away from under center football. I personally think that it adds value to an offense, but typically, tailbacks are about 7 yards behind the fullback or the quarterback, depending on the alignment or the set, the overall set. Their stance can range between 2-point and 3-point, and then like the shotgun alignment, chief for success. Okay. Again, there's some coaches that prefer their running backs to be at 8 yards deep. And then there's some that prefer their backs to be at about 6 yards. Okay. But a perfect median between both is 7 yards. Okay. All right. The third alignment that I'll touch on today is pistol. Okay. So pistol alignment, quarterbacks, from what I've seen, are usually at 4 yards, but the perfect medium, in my opinion, is 5 yards. Behind the quarterback is the running back. The running back is about 3 yards behind the quarterback, so that puts him about at 8. But you can bump him up to 7 yards as well, depending on the athleticism and the run of the running back. 3-point stance or 2-point stance, either way, it just boils down to comfort and just responsibility. Okay, so just like that, we just touched on the 3 different alignments, the 3 common alignments of running backs. We talked about shotgun, which is also known as sidecar, under center, which is usually I formation of some sort. And then we touched on pistol. Okay. So now we're going to shift from alignments to run game. Okay. The first focus is going to be on duo, followed by power O, counter, and mid-zone. Okay. So duo. Okay. So duo, blocking responsibility is backside gap to front side gap. Some coaches, prefer inside zone. That's perfectly fine as well. But duo's backside gap to front side gap responsibility, as we see in this diagram. Okay. So we have the tackle. Since duo is being ran to the right hand side, this tackle doesn't have a 4-eye, so he's slamming back to the 5 technique. Okay. The guard in the center sees an opportunity to combo, so they're comboing up to the weak side linebacker. Okay. To the call side. Okay. We also have another combo opportunity where the guards and the tackles are comboing up to the Mike backer. And then lastly, the tight end. Some coaches use a sniffer as well. His backside gap is the number 1 responsibility. So therefore he's caving down. Okay. But the path for the running back is this, press, play, side guard. Okay. I've been to a number of different clinics, and some coaches prefer that their tailback press the sheet of the center, which is perfectly fine. Whatever works for you, works for you. But in our world, we typically ask the running back to press the hip of the guard. Okay. It's also important that the running back hugs the double teams, okay? Why? Because as a lineman, it helps the blocking responsibility and it helps the combo opportunity, okay? Assignment, I'm sorry. We ask all backs to press the heels of the offensive lineman. The words that we use is slow too fast through A, B, C. What does that mean? Well, you either have A gap, you have B gap, or C gap, okay? A light power O, and we'll talk about that very soon. We ask all running backs to press the A gap first, okay? So that's duo. Run play number 2 is power O, okay? Blocker responsibility, typically backside tackle is cutting off the B gap, working the C. Some coaches have their backside tackle to play man, the pulling guard, okay? He's responsible for skip pulling and attacking the play side backer with the opportunity to potentially lob a defender that shows up, okay? The center is typically blocking back. The play side guard and the play side tackle is comboing back to the wheel backer, okay? Some coaches just say, hey, gap down backer, that's perfectly fine. And the end man on the line of scrimmage is responsible for kicking out the end man, okay? Path for the running back, press the play side guard like in duo, slow to, fast through, and hug the double team, okay? So just like duo, the language that we typically use is A gap to B gap to C gap, okay? Which again means if A gap is closed, check B gap. If B gap is closed, check the C gap, which usually means that some form of log is being blocked up. Okay, so the second run play is power. Okay, the third common run play that we see a lot of is counter. Okay, so counter is like power, but it's just in the opposite direction. Okay, so the blocking rules for the tackle and the guard is gap down backer. Okay, and whoever is pulling. Okay, that can be centers, that can be guard, and then sometimes the GT. All right, tackle. All right, but whoever's pulling first, they're responsible for trapping the first man that shows. Okay, the second puller, he's responsible for inserting to the play side backer. Okay, like in power, the second puller is responsible for reading the block of the trapper. Okay, so again, if the second puller sees an opportunity to insert for the play side backer, he takes it. Okay. But if the puller logs the end man on the line of scrimmage, the second puller is responsible for working around it. Well, what does that mean to the running back? Well, it's simple. The running back must also be on the same page with the offensive lineman and the puller. Okay. The language that we always use is make them right. Okay. Hug a double team, press the heels of the offensive lineman, slow too fast through, A, B, C. Keep your shoulders vertical. Okay. And the last run play that we'll touch on is mid-zone. Some coaches call it outside zone. Some coaches call it stretch. That's perfectly fine. Okay. But this play here, typically the offensive linemen are on the same level, keeping their shoulders squared and working up the field. Okay. Some coaches have the offensive lineman to rip and run, but the running back is responsible for using the same footwork. Okay. I will say that mid-zone typically hits a little bit better from pistol or under center, okay? But it is possible for you to run mid-zone front shotgun as well, okay? Just know that if you're running it from pistol or from under center, you're going to help your play side tackle out a lot, okay? If you run it out of sidecar, which is gun, you're going to put a lot more strain on your play side tackle, okay? But the path and the footwork, rocker step, some coaches call it a delayed step, then chase the play side tackle. Okay, some coaches say, hey, chase the play side tight end or the imaginary tight end, whichever language you prefer to use with your backs, that's perfectly fine. Okay, the assignment cut at the heels of the offensive lineman, BBB. Okay, B stands for bounce the play outside or bang. Okay, stick your toe on the ground and cut up field vertically or bend the play all the way back. Okay, so a little quick acronym is BBB. That's bounce, bang, bend. Okay. All right. So with that being said, we're shifting from common run plays to the passing game. Okay. So during this section here, we're going to touch on big on big or combo and slide protection. Okay. More now than ever before, running backs must not only be able to run between the tackles and on the edges, running backs must also be willing to pass protect and catch the football. Okay. In high school, more and more running backs are not being asked to pass protect. Okay. For any runner that dreams to someday play college football, I highly recommend that as coaches, we put our guys in position to show college coaches that they can indeed do it. Okay. So the first pass protection we have is big on big or combo. Okay. So big on big simply means that the big guys block the big guys. All right. Offensive linemen block guys that had their hands in the dirt. Okay. So that's typically offensive linemen versus defensive tackles, shades, defensive ends. Okay. There's pros and cons to it. The pro is, well, you keep big guys on big guys. But the downside is what typically happens is if you don't have the number system correct, whichever number system you run, you typically give up a lot of free runners, especially from linebackers. Okay. Combo means that half of the offensive lineman is going to latch on. Okay. But the other half is going to slide protect. Okay. The pro to this is that, full week, okay, is usually picked up. All right. But the downside is, again, if you're not on the same page with the running back, there's there's quite a few run throughs. Okay. So long story less long, just to be on the same page, big on big or combo, whichever direction, you go with your offensive staff is perfectly fine there. Okay. Well, I say that to say this, running back assignment. So it's very important that the running back is on the same page with the offensive lineman. Okay. So what needs to be clearly defined is bob or combo. Okay. Because the running back has to fit off of that. Okay. So in this diagram here, it's an example of combo. Okay. So from the center to the left guard to the tackle, these guys are sliding left. Okay. Well, since it's big on big to the front side of this play, that simply means that the running back is responsible for the play side backer and out. Okay. Block most dangerous. Okay. So when he's blocking, it is best that the running back meets the rush linebacker at the line of scrimmage. Okay. Because what you don't want to happen is you don't want leakage to rattle the quarterback and, throw him off his read. Okay. Protect inside out and fit. Okay. I do realize that some smaller running backs typically want to cut heavier linebackers, but in today's game with so many linebackers, playing basketball and track, right, and very athletic linebackers of today would jump over cutting running backs and really rattle your quarterback in his progression. Okay, so that's what I mean by fit, thick, and protect inside out. Okay. This type of blocking is usually used with drop back passing attacks. So typically any route combination that exceeds 10 yards, between 5 to 10 yards and deeper, this type of protection is usually connected to it. Okay. So this is big on big or combo. And we talked about the block responsibility of the running back, which is to be on the same page with the offensive line. Okay. So the second protection that we'll touch on and why the running back fits to it is slide protection. Okay. So in this type of protection, offensive linemen are usually responsible for a gap. So in this diagram here, the offensive lineman is responsible to the left gap, which means that there's going to be a free rusher away from the slide. Okay. Where the running back fits into that gap. Okay. And the running back is responsible for attacking the edge gap. Okay. And either fitting thick or cutting the gap with the outside shoulder. Okay. You're not really worried about leakage here because usually this type of protection is directly connected to quick game. Okay. So here we're thinking, slants, hitches, outs, any route combination where the quarterback can just catch the ball and get rid of it from gun, or if he's under center, 3-step ball comes out. Okay. So the quarterback just needs a little bit of time, which is why slide protection is very, very effective in the passing game. All right, so the last component that we'll touch on today is pass game hots, where we'll talk about the details of the swing route, spot, the shoot, angle, and the seam. Okay, so the first hot route that we'll touch on is the flat route, okay, or the swing. Typically, we ask running backs to, focus really on width, okay? In this picture here, this back is in the shotgun formation. And when the ball is snapped, he is coached to run as wide as possible, okay? Be on the same page with the quarterback, okay? So pre-snap, if the running back is lined up, he's, scanning the field like the quarterback. If he is in the kitchen, he knows that he must not only get to his landmark in a hurry, but he must also get his eyes around to prepare for a catch, okay? 3-step versus 5-step. Well, usually if the running back is running a swing route to the short side of the field, we ask him to run 3 steps before he looks up, okay? If the running back is running to the wide side of the field, you ask the running back to run 5 steps before turning unless it's hot, okay? That's what that rule is, 5-step versus 3-step. Okay. The second hot route that's packaged to quick game is arrow. Okay. Some coaches coach the arrow to, as soon as the ball is snapped, the tailback is attacking the outside hip of the tackle and stand on that path for 5 yards. But some air raid coaches ask their running backs to run to the line of scrimmage, and then once they get there, to break it flat. Okay. Whichever method you prefer, just make sure that you're on the same page with your quarterback, okay? Because your quarterback really needs to know where his hot routes are, okay? So in this picture here, the tailback is attacking the outside hip of the tackle, and as soon as he gets to the tackle, he's running to the sideline, okay? That's what this diagram is, and this is the arrow route. Okay, the third hot route that we'll talk about is the spot route. This route here, the tailback is releasing the tailback is released on the outside hip of the tackle. He's releasing upfield for 5 yards, and then he is turning and sitting down in the grass. Okay. The note that I have here is best release. Some coaches prefer that their running backs on the check down. This is also called a check down. They prefer that their running back releases upfield, right? Avoid the lineman and just sit in the middle of the field. This path right here is low risk, high reward. But the ultimate goal is to best release and sit over the tackle and lock eyes with the quarterback. Okay? That's the spot route. Okay, the next route that we'll touch on is the angle. Okay, some coaches call it the Texas route. But on the angle route, okay, it has the same stem as the arrow route, where the running back is attacking the outside hip of the tackle or the imaginary tight end, and then he's breaking in at a 45-degree angle. Okay, you might see Christian McCaffrey. He runs this route a lot. Any dynamic back, that can also catch the ball. A lot of coaches live with this route right here. Okay, but the coaching point here is to run at the play side tackle, add some personality at the top of the route, and then break in at a 45-degree angle. Okay, the quarterbacks know that, hey, if this is a great answer versus inside blitz and backers. Okay, so quarterbacks just have to be on the same page with the running back here. Okay, and then if the quarterback throws the ball to the running back, make sure you catch the ball, drop, step, and get on the field. Okay, and the last hot route that we'll touch on is the seam. Okay, and on the seam route, the same path. It's the same path. It's the same stem as the angle route, same stem as the spot route, same stem as the angle. Okay. Some coaches, want to add this to a choice route, which is perfectly fine. But the running back knows that he must attack that same spot with hurry. Okay. And once he gets to the line of scrimmage, run up the field immediately. Okay. The ultimate goal is to work to the seam. But sometimes, if heat is in your face, the running back knows that he just needs to work a field, get his eyes around it. Usually the quarterback is going to throw the ball on the inside shoulder. Okay. If there's a defender on the inside hip, quarterback must be able to put the ball over the inside defender. But ultimately, The running back and the quarterback just has to be on the same page. Okay. And that is the same route. Okay. So the final section we're going to touch on is just a few helpful tips. And these tips are not only, applicable to our running back coaches, but also all coaches. Okay. So number one, plan out all drills. Okay. Don't wing it. Okay. If you're a running back coach, I highly recommend that you ask the offensive coordinator, hey, what do my backs need to know? And then once you learn that, plan your practice accordingly. Okay. The worst thing you can ever do is just show up at practice and just throw drills together and expect your guys to respond to that. Okay. It really pays to be organized and to plan out your drills. Okay. Number two, all drills should have a focus. Okay. Always ask yourself, what do my guys need to be able to do? Okay. Do my guys need to be able to run inside? Do my guys need to be able to run outside? Do my guys have to be able to pass protect? Do my guys have to be able to run routes? Okay. Always have a focus connected to your routes, to your drills. Okay. Tip number three, study offensive blocking schemes. Hang out with the offensive line coach. Okay. In order for you to teach the scheme correctly, I personally think that you must understand the blocking responsibilities. Okay. Hang out with the offensive line sometimes. Okay. Go to their meetings, ask questions. Hey, if you're unsure, just ask questions. Okay. Just be on the same page with the offensive blocking schemes and the offensive line coaches. Okay. Tip number four, study wide receiver passing schemes. Hang out with the receivers and quarterbacks. Okay. I personally think that it's okay if, you push the running backs to run routes with the receivers. Okay. It's only going to help them out. Okay. I personally think that it's beneficial for the running backs to learn the route trees. Okay. Not just their routes, but, work beyond, just the common routes that running backs are being asked to run. Okay. And then hang out with the quarterback. Just be on the same page. The quarterback needs to be able to, believe what he see downfield. But if trouble's in the air, he has to be comfortable enough to check it down. Okay. A lot of times with 7-on-7 leads and all that good stuff, quarterbacks are usually throwing deep, not realizing that some of the best athletes on the team are running backs. Okay. They don't need a lot of space, just get them the ball and let them work. Okay. Tip number four, take pride in building young men for tomorrow. Okay. This is not just for running back coaches, but this is for all coaches. Okay. Never forget your why. Yes, we love coaching up football. We love talking schemes. We love drawing at plays. But ultimately, our number one goal is to build young men through this sport so that we can, help them be successful in the future. Okay. And then lastly, today, I just touched momentarily on just a few concepts and few ideas from the running back position. But I also have a book available as well, Running Back 101, where I deep dive into a little bit more information through Coach and Share. Okay. All right. So before we open it up for questions, if there's any questions, just a quick recap. So section number one, I touched on alignments, it's basic alignments. We touched on shotgun versus under center versus pistol. Okay. Benefits of all three. Well, the benefits of shotgun is that, hey, your running backs can run free, and it really helps the passing game. Okay. The downside is, it takes away from the downhill physicality sometimes. Okay. But that's a benefit from under center and pistol. All right. But the downside is, you might lose a little bit of something in the passing game. Okay? So I just touched on those alignments there. And then we shifted our attention to run game. Okay. We talked about duo, power, counter, and Midzone. Okay. Duo power, the run assignments are pretty much the same. I personally think that duo is just power without the puller. Some coaches might disagree, and that's perfectly fine. But duo is a gap play, power is a gap play, and counter is a gap play. Okay, all three plays are very, very similar, just coached up differently. And then Midzone is a true Midzone. Okay. The third section we touched on was running back pass protection. We briefly touched on Bob versus combo. Bob is big on big, and combo is man plus slide. and we touched on slide protection, which is used for quick game concepts. And then lastly, we touched on running back hot routes, where we touched on the swing route, just know when to run it 5 steps versus 3, the arrow route, the seam route, the angle route. Okay. And then lastly, we close it out with tips. Okay. So this right here is my contact information. My name is Brandon Simmons, and I coach at Southeast Raleigh High School. I'm the offensive coordinator. My contact information is here. You can either contact me on Twitter at Coach B Simmons or Coach_B Simmons, or through email bls0405@gmail.com. And the book that I touched on today was Running Back 101, which is available through Coach and Share.
Perfect, Coach. But I mean, I'll ask this because I think it's universal, the opinion. And I will say this because I've had Coach Laughlin on here before on a podcast, and he's now the running back coach at Ohio State. That I would argue at high school and college is probably the worst coach position in general. You typically don't put your best coach, offensive coach there. It really, depending on your scheme, it might be your third best, give or take. Where do you, besides just your book and on Coaching Share, what other resources do you think are a good tool? You hit on a lot of things there. And to be honest, I think running back path and aiming points are severely under-taught in most offenses in general. I think really probably the only ones that really harp on it really well are inside zone coaches. But gap schemes, I remember several years I've not heard about it. How do you, for resources and then kind of recommendations for teaching running back paths?
So you brought up a few great points. I personally think that, like you just said, the running back position is not coached with the same enthusiasm as other positions, because usually, at least in the high school ranks, coaches typically put their best athlete at running back and say, hey, figure it out. And it doesn't just start at high school, but it also starts in middle school and Pop Warner. Okay, usually you have all the kids to race. Whoever in the race, that's going to run it back. Okay. In recent years, you start to see a shift with the best athlete trying to play quarterback so that you can run your read game and all that good stuff. But usually, running backs are usually some of your best athletes. But the philosophy that you referred to, I've heard it before. Some coaches, some head coaches, not all, but some head coaches stick their weaker coach at running back. That sometimes harms the backfield. But I've also seen it where, the running back is elevated in the program and the head coaches believe firmly in putting their best coach at that position because they understand the importance of it. But as far as resources, I personally believe that it's important for you to visit clinics. Okay, I'll be the first one to tell you that this past offseason I've been very, very busy. I've been hanging out with a lot of different coaches up and down the East Coast, with North Carolina, South Carolina, and everywhere in between. And it all starts with your identity. What do you want to be offensively? Do you want to be a gap team? Do you want to be a zone team? Okay. And if so, what is the entry points? Okay. For example, part of the reason why, I put an emphasis on running backs hitting the A gap, B gap, C gap was because that's the way I was coached when I was in college. Okay. My offensive line coach, at East Carolina, anytime that we bounced the play outside, he'll get mad at us. And at that time, I didn't really understand why, but he said he was explaining to us the importance of aim marks. So he told us, hey, this is where you need to run. Why? Because we need to help the offensive lineman to create movement. And if you cut back too soon, that's going to throw the blocking off. Okay. But to answer your question directly, I personally think that clinics are very, very essential. Hang out with the staff that you want to learn more from. Okay. And then ask all the coaches on your staff in the high school level to teach it that same way. Other resources, there's so much content out here. Clinics like this, Amazon, they have books. There's a whole lot of old manuals across the internet. Okay. The biggest misconception that all these ideas that we're using today are original. They're not. Okay. All you have to do is go back to the 50s, the 40s, the 30s, and you'll see for yourself that a lot of these schemes that we're running, we didn't create them. Okay. We're just adding a little sprinkle to it, right? But the origins of the systems are out there. Okay. It might be a little bit time consuming, okay, where you have to peel through old articles and old texts, but it is definitely worth it if you want to improve your game as a coach. Okay. So that's the short answer. Clinics, clinics, physical clinics, online clinics, Amazon, coach and share, word of mouth manuals to improve your game.
Okay. Well, coaches, we'll be back at 6:00 with Coach Lloyd talking sustaining a football program. 6:30 is Coach Vester with, I believe he's talking kickoff. Or kick return, one of the two. Coach Greg Gonzalez is going to be at 7. He's going to talk how he married kind of the slot tee and the flex bone, the flex tee. Coach Ruda is going to talk wing tee blocking at 7:30, and Coach Holzer is going to talk some run and shoot, practice and game planning at 8. So that link will pop up probably about 10, 15 minutes before. I'll open all that stuff up. Worst case 5. Like, share, subscribe, all that jazz, so people can find this clinic. I'll get it cut up over the next couple of days, and all individual clinics will be posted separately. But this full clinic, I think it's at 2 hours and 45 minutes, will be on there as well. If you just go to the live section of the channel, you can also find a lot of the full other clinics as well. Otherwise, thanks for everybody for watching. I think we've had like over 150 different coaches on and off throughout the day so far. And other than that, appreciate everybody.